UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 7 o'clock. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. We'll have to talk. It's good to talk on Talk. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Tuesday, February the 3rd. Here's what's coming up. As the legend of the allegedly clever Peter Mandelson turns into a clown show that looks set to end in Wormwood Scrubs, we'll start by asking the government if by any chance they'd be kind enough to stop prioritising migrants and start putting hard-working Brits first. And when we go for a pint after work, wouldn't it be nice if it didn't set us back the best part of a tenner? Nigel Farage today launching reforms campaign to make beer affordable. What's the most you've ever paid for a pint? Where's the best bargain? We found a place called Comsit, I think it's in Durham, where a price of a pint is £2.90. I'm moving there tomorrow, folks. 0344 499 1000. How much is the price of a pint in your local? What's the cheapest beer you've ever come across? What's the most expensive? Most of the expensive beer is around where we work, right here in the middle of London, where 10 quid for a pint is not unusual. I'm serious. And more sometimes. In other news, the decline and fall of the most brilliant man in Westminster, who is actually an idiot who always gets caught. Should trader of state secrets, Lord, and I use the term loosely, Lord Mandelson, be A, stripped of his peerage, and B, prosecuted for treason? 0344 499 1000. Plus, Ben Habib on the dire state of the nation, Isabel Oakeshott on the pompous incompetence of the French police as they get their French knickers in a twist over British patriots crossing the channel to stop the boats, and my special guest, a music lecturer forced out of his job for questioning critical race theory and daring to suggest that jazz is not racist. How very dare he? All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Tuesday afternoon together. And right off the bat, my first guest for the first 20 minutes or so is the excellent leader of Advance UK. He is, of course, Ben Habib. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Kevin. Good to be on.
I did want to start with you on this kind of weird skewing of the balance of the way things happen in this nation, that more and more it seems we have a government, we have authorities that prioritise the rights, the needs, the wants, the desires of migrants and asylum seekers over homegrown Brits. But we'll get to that in a minute, because I think the Mandelson story, the magnitude of the Mandelson story, is growing by the minute. Let us just remind ourselves, before we get your take, Ben, of what Lord Mandelson said about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein on the BBC. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago with Laura Kunsberg.
Possibly some people will think because that I'm a gay man, I was sort of insensitised, or I wasn't attuned to what was going on. I don't really accept that. I think the issue is that because I was a gay man in his circle, I was kept separate from what he was doing in the sexual side of his life.
Your friend Nigel Farage, Ben, has just been speaking about Lord Mandelson at one of Reform UK's hourly press conferences that he seems to stage all the time. This one was about bringing the price of a pint down, so perhaps we'll chat about that in a second. But this is Nigel Farage on Mandelson.
Well, it's always the bloke at the top in the end that has to take responsibility, even if it's not his or her fault. I mean, that's just the way it works in business, in politics. I mean, obviously we don't know what the MI6 report that the Prime Minister received, or did he receive, did he ask for it before the appointment as ambassador to America. We don't know the details of that. But ultimately, I would have thought that the Labour backbenchers, who are moving quite rapidly to the left in terms of their centre of gravity, will be demanding that McSweeney goes within the next few days. Perhaps it'll take a week. And you'll know, as soon as McSweeney goes, that Starmer won't last long afterwards. That would be my take and my judgment. Ultimately, given, as I said a moment ago, all the previous warnings about Mandelson's behaviour, it is a grave error of judgment on behalf of the Prime Minister. And I think that's inescapable now.
I think Nigel Farage is right, Ben. I also think there are terrible misjudgments by previous Labour Prime Ministers, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, who promoted this guy to the very highest echelons of government. He was Business Secretary, he was European Trade Commissioner. This government, or the Labour governments of the past, didn't do anything without first consulting Mr. Mandelson, as he then was. During this time, it transpires that according to the Epstein files, he took $25,000 from his friend Jeffrey Epstein, his best pal. He says he has no recollection of that. A strange response, if you ask me. Also, his lover, his partner, was receiving at one point, it is thought, $4,000 a month from Epstein. And Epstein, he begged and got wired money from Epstein to pay for an osteopath course that he wanted to go on. During all of these times, Peter Mandelson was a senior figure in the Labour government, and we now see documentary email evidence that he did Epstein's bidding. He tried to get the government to change policy on bonuses in the city because Jeffrey Epstein wanted the rules and regulations reduced so that they only affected cash payments and not stocks and shares. Mandelson tried to change that. He also sent Epstein a confidential email between government ministers and the Prime Minister suggesting a change of policy in Europe, from which Epstein could have made a lot of money on the markets. This is very serious stuff. It's not out of the bounds of possibility that this could be construed to be treason. If he was taking money and providing state secrets to an American businessman, that's treason.
So I think the really pertinent points you made, if I may say so, Kev, the latter points you've made, that actually money was exchanging hands in return for favours being given by Mandelson. It's typical and totally understandable that people focus on Epstein. When they look at Epstein, they focus on the despicable sexual acts that were performed on often very young girls, and I'm sure there was paedophilia, etc., involved as well. But that, I think, really is just the tip of the iceberg. That is the mechanism Epstein used in order to gain favour with these powerful people, not just Mandelson, but others, as you know, right across the globe. And it was the hook he could then use against them to make sure that they stayed loyal to him. And another hook he used was monetary handouts, as you've seen with De Silva and with Mandelson himself. And this, I think, goes to the heart of how government has operated over the last 30 years. There has been an ever greater collusion between big money and big power. And we see it evidenced once a year at least in the World Economic Forum. I'm not suggesting for a moment that anyone going to the World Economic Forum acts in the same way that Epstein did in terms of sexual favors being granted, etc. But when you put big power with big money together behind closed doors, billionaires financing trips by politicians or billionaires handing out big donations to political parties, that comes with serious influence. And Mandelson wasn't able, and I suspect most politicians are unable, given the paltry amounts that they're prepared to be bought off for, able to put down a line between their obligations as government ministers and members of parliament put down a line between that and the favors and graces that they've been given by these incredibly rich people. And this has become very, very blurred over the last 30 years. Mandelson is just one example. It's a particularly egregious example because of the sexual aspects that go around the whole operation of Epstein. But it is typical. Now, we've got to also remember, the reason I say it's typical, we've also got to remember that Mandelson had at least twice before been sacked by the Labour Party. Once when he was taking loans from fellow ministers and hadn't disclosed them.
Jeffrey Robinson, they took a £300,000 plus mortgage from a fellow cabinet minister, the richest man in the Labour Party, for a house in Notting Hill Gate, the scandal of which was brilliantly named Notting Hill Gate. He lost his job for that. He also had to walk the plank for trying to organise passports under the counter for the Intuja brothers, the rich Indian tycoons. It's always money with Mandelson. My point would be, Ben, with Mandelson, the scandal that he is involved in, by the way, today he says he's retired from the Lords. I think we should go the extra mile and take that peerage away from him. I'm sick of hearing, oh, it's so complicated. I seem to remember not very long ago us being told about Prince Andrew. It's so difficult to take that prince title away. You can't do it. You can't just take the Duke of York title away and then they just did it in 10 minutes. So they can take his peerage away, and I think they should. What's happening here, Ben, if you think about Mandelson and you think about Prince Andrew, what is on trial here, what will be on trial, because the police must surely investigate and prosecute those two lowlifes. What is on trial here is the establishment. It is
absolutely, 100%.
The fact that the police have already let Andrew off the hook because he clearly abused his position by trying to get a royal detective to look into Virginia Giuffre for him. That is malfeasance. He needs to be done for that. He needs to be done for his activity while he was a trade envoy for this country. Clearly, he was operating in an underhand way. And Mandelson needs to be done effectively for selling secrets to a businessman. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter that Epstein's a paedophile and a low life. It's the fact he's a rich American billionaire businessman that a cabinet minister was selling secrets to. That is the allegation, and if that is true, Mandelson goes to Wormwood Scrubs or another jail.
Absolutely. But just one other point I'd like to make. Mandelson has been doing this for 30 years, at least 26, 27 years. So, and he's been allowed to get away with it. And that says to me that lots of other people within his circle are doing the same thing. They're all backing each other up and they're not calling each other out. Starmer, I think Farage alluded to it in his press conference. Starmer was in possession of security services files, which advised against appointing Mandelson as ambassador to the US, but they still went ahead and did it. All these people, and I use this in a metaphorical sense, are in bed with each other. It is deeply sick. And that's why you are also so right, if I may say so, to say it's the establishment that's on trial. If Mandelson goes down, Starmer should go down, McSweeney should go down. All the other people around them should have questions asked of them. How did this happen? People who declare and have declared repeatedly for so many years that Tony Blair was a great statesman, Mandelson was a great statesman. These people need to be investigated. Why is it that they're so hoodwinked? The establishment is so hoodwinked by the powers of the power of money, by rich influence. Why do they all flock off to flipping Davos once a year? Why do they do that?
Good question.
It's because they love money. And the other thing that is, slightly eyebrow raising is that they're bought off with such small amounts of money. $25,000, and he's giving over national security secrets.
When his boyfriend was accepting this money from Epstein to do this osteopathy course, a lot of people say, well, at the time, this was 2009 when Mandelson was business secretary, so he would have been commanding an income way over £200,000 a year. A lot of people saying, well, can't you afford the 10 grand or whatever it was for your boyfriend's osteopathy course. And he said, I see that point. He said, but I saw it as an act of kindness on Jeffrey's part. This guy's just a low-life scrounger. He really is. Listen, Ben, I just want to get you on one other topic before we go. Thank you very much for your insight into the escalating Mandy scandal. He's in trouble. He's in big trouble. Make no mistake.
I think the government's in trouble. Starmer's in trouble.
I think so. It is thought, it's being bandied around Westminster today, that if the police, and by the way, that's another person who's on the rack, Samart Rowley, the Met Police detective. Don't let these people off, Rowley. Don't let them off. You can't. You've done it in the past. Don't do it this time. It won't wash. Now, I wanted to ask you about the price of a pint. We're going to cover this story in a little while. Nigel Farage and Reform UK are going to make this one of the backbones of their campaign. We're going to bring down the price of a pint. Around London, it's fairly average for a pint to cost about £8.50. Sometimes near a tenner. We found a place in Comsett in Durham that does a pint for £2.90. And my correspondent, Steve from East Yorkshire, has just texted in to say that in his working man's club, oh no, this is a Wetherspoons, I'm sorry, you can get beers between £1.99 and £2.39 a pint. I think it's a good move to try to bring down the price of beer, because that a lot of people feel strongly about this. But let me ask you this one element. I wanted to get your take on this. Yesterday, this ludicrous story came out about how the government had commissioned an investigation into the countryside and decided it was way too white and middle class. And apparently, we don't cater for Muslims enough. We should never let our dogs off the lead in the countryside because Muslims don't like it. My message to Muslims is, if you don't like dogs off the lead, don't go to the damn countryside. But this was the one that made me laugh. This report has called for an improvement on the part of rural pubs. Because when people of colour, particularly Muslims, go to the countryside, they find pubs to be very, very unwelcome because A, Muslims don't drink, and this is a very alcoholic atmosphere, and B, they don't do food for ethnic minorities. Well, the latter, that might be a point. But if we are calling on pubs to raise their game because Muslims don't like them because they don't drink, my message would be, well, Muslims, don't go to the damn pubs. This is just absurd, isn't it?
It is absurd. I suppose what's happened is that in urban environments, multiculturalism has taken absolute firm control, to the extent, actually, that ethnic minorities in many urban environments now outnumber white British citizens. But the countryside has managed to preserve British culture to some extent. Multiculturalism, for all its failures, are therefore more starkly revealed in the country. And because it's held its cultural national position, if you like, the country, it holds up a mirror to multiculturalism. And I agree with you. People don't like it. Don't go to the country. Don't go to the pub. Don't buy a pint of beer. Don't buy the pork scratchings. I'm going to buy all of those.
Yeah, me too. It's my civic duty to help the pub industry. But it's just absurd. It's a bit, you don't change the countryside to fit a certain section of the community.
But we've changed our cities to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And now we want to do it to rural areas as well, and it's got to stop. It is madness. Ben, fantastic to talk to you as always. Thank you so much for your time. That's Ben Habib, leader of the Advance UK Party. When we come back, we're going to be talking yet again about the sad case of Rhiannon White. That is the poor lady who was stabbed 23 times with a screwdriver. Her mother's testimony in court, her witness statement and her subsequent interviews brought my next guest to tears, reduced her to tears. Stay tuned for her story.
you think that the former Prince Andrew will go to jail over this?
I don't think he'll go to jail over this. I mean, I don't, but you did see the story yesterday that there's a new woman from Florida. A woman, she alleges that she spent the night at Prince Andrew's Royal Lodge in 2010, and she was sent by Jeffrey Epstein, and her attorney's talking. As long as he stays out of the States, I think that they can't force his hand.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A warm welcome to the show to Orla Minahan. She's the lead organiser of the Excellent Pink Ladies, the ladies who've been protesting about asylum seeker hotels in their communities. She's also the Reform UK candidate for Epping and Thaden Boys. Welcome, Orla.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Now, you've been very, very moved by the story of Rhiannon White. We all have. We're particularly moved by her brave mother, Donna, and that extraordinary statement she made in court, humiliating that monster who murdered her daughter because he danced over her body, and Donna said, "You're not dancing now, are you? Let's see you dance now." You pointed out on Twitter that the local MP for Donna and Rhiannon, a guy called Matt Weston, Labour MP for Warwick and Leamington, had not even contacted Donna White's mother. In fairness, I don't know if it's subsequent to your tweet or before, he has apparently been in touch, but he won't tell us what the conversation entailed. But what I think your tweet does highlight is the strange, I would suggest sinister silence of this government on this particular murder. We haven't heard anything from the Prime Minister, from the Labour government, from the safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips. Yeah. There's always this government don't seem to care about the victims of sexual crime, particularly if it's by an asylum seeker or a migrant, as in this case. So your point that you made about the MP, the local MP, although it seems he did in the end get in touch with Donna White, the government aren't saying a word, and they owe us a statement, don't they?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna just contradict you slightly, Kevin, and I apologise, but Siobhan is Rhiannon's mum. But that's okay. There's a lot of she's got sisters and cousins, so a lot of the ladies' names get mixed up. So,
isn't it Donna Siobhan or something? I thought it was.
No, Siobhan. Yeah, Siobhan. So it doesn't matter. You know, I'm sure she'll forgive you. Frankly, this government, if this government had done its job, Rhiannon would still be alive. Okay, and that's a fact. So it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you sit on, what your views are. The fact is that this man was let in to this country 11 weeks before he murdered Rhiannon. He'd already been expelled from Germany. He'd been expelled from Italy. He came through France and came to the UK. Now, this government and subsequent governments before this government, for the last 25 years, have allowed men to come into this country to rape and sexually assault and murder young women, children, and in some cases young boys. And the silence, the shocking silence from this government is absolutely disgraceful. So this MP that says he's been in contact, I can categorically assure you that he has not been in contact with Rhiannon's mother, and neither has the MP that looks after the constituency in which the hotel and the station is where Rhiannon was murdered, and neither has Jess Phillips.
Phillips has. Now, I've got to say that this MP, he does say he has been in touch. Matt Weston. It may be subsequent to your powerful tweet and your powerful statement. I just have to say that's what his office is saying. Now, Jess Phillips, I don't think
Nothing.
so. The government,
Nothing.
I don't think so.
Nothing.
Where is a statement from this government about this murder that shocked the nation? Why are they always so silent?
They're so vocal about Palestine. They're so vocal about China. They're so vocal about reform. They're so vocal about all these things that really, in the great scheme of things, do not matter compared to that of the safety of the citizens of this country. The first and most important job of any government is the security and the protection of its citizens and its borders. Fail, fail. They have failed on every solitary one of the most important things that a government is in place to do. And the fact is, not even a tweet, not even, a mention at Prime Minister's questions, not even an email of condolence to her family. And yesterday, I was so upset that I actually cried on national TV.
I know you did.
Frustration. Today, I'm just livid, because now they're backpedaling. And apparently, one of them said, "Oh, we're gonna reach out." You're 15 months too late, mate. 15 months too late. That family have been through a trial. They've been through multiple delays because that animal kept saying that he was underage and refused to have bone density checks because of his human rights. At what point does this government stand up and say, we're going to stop the unnecessary and avoidable murders of these young women? Because, Kevin, this woman, this is all over the papers now and all over the media, but there are more coming this year. There are more coming, and each and every member of the public in this country are going to be dumbfounded by what is going to come out, which has been kept silent and swept under the carpet.
Orla, do you think that in this country, I think we have a problem. I mean, of course, in my view, there's a very grave suspicion, fear, that we have been importing a sex crime epidemic.
Yes.
All these young and thousands of young men coming from foreign cultures where their attitudes to women are very different. We don't know anything about them, and more of them are being convicted or charged with sex crimes. So that is a massive problem. But I think in this country, we have a strange attitude to sex crimes. We have a strange attitude to paedophile sex crimes.
Yes.
I've got two stories right on my desk right now. I won't go into the details, but both are very, very serious paedophile offences. The two perpetrators in court, neither of them have been sent to jail. We have a policy that paedophiles on the first offence do not go to jail.
Outrageous.
I give you Hugh Edwards, for example. So child sex abuse on the first offence is seen in this country officially as not a jail sentence, not a prison sentence, and they'll go they'll go on about they'll go, oh well, the cells are full, the prisons are full. It's child sex abuse. You can't let these people back out onto the street, and yet we have an official policy of doing that. What are your thoughts on that, Orla?
There is nothing more evil and sadistic than that of sexual assault to a young child, or any sexual assault, but especially to a young vulnerable child. These men, and sometimes women, but mainly men, in my opinion, should never see the light of day. And if there is no room in our prisons, deport the 50,000 illegal foreign criminals we have in our prisons. Get rid of them and make room for these animals. I know exactly what you're referring to, a man that has sexually assaulted a young girl and told her to be quiet, etc., etc. He's been allowed out of prison. Yet someone like Lucy Connolly can do one tweet and get 18 months. That is how mixed up this country has become. Our priorities, our moral compass is completely skewed. I don't know. I've never known anything like it.
Orla, great having you on the show. Come on again very soon. Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Orla Minahan there, lead organiser of the Pink Ladies and also Reform UK candidate for Epping and Thaden Boys. Now, we're going to go to break now. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Samara Gill, who's been at the press conference of Reform UK, and they're going to bring down the price of a pint, not a moment too soon. I'm sure you'll agree. We'll talk about that next.
UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Big breaking news here. Gordon Brown, who was never any fan of Peter Mandelson, they never liked each other at all. But this is what's happening with Mandelson. A lot of people say, oh, he knows all the right people, he knows all the powerful people, he knows where the bodies are burying. What is going on now, folks, in Westminster is the fine art, the traditional old art of backside saving. Everybody is shuffling to save their own backsides, and they are going to chuck Mandelson straight under the bus. And front of the queue is former Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Breaking news. Gordon Brown has written to Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley, quotes, with information relevant to his investigation of Lord Mandelson's disclosure of market-sensitive and confidential government information to Jeffrey Epstein. The former Prime Minister has released this in a statement to the Press Association. So he's going for Mandelson. With that, Mandelson might as well measure up the curtains at Wormwood Scrubs, as I said before. They're going to get him. He's going to go down. The establishment of this country, when they're in trouble, they are ruthless. And their latest victim, they will eat him up and spit him out. Farewell, Mandelson. It wasn't nice while we knew you. Right, Samara Gill's in the studio. How you doing, Samara?
I'm great.
You just finished your pint?
Well, you know, there was no alcohol at that bloody event. Reform, get better.
Is that right? OK, let's just frame this, shall we? Samara has been at Reform UK's press conference where Nigel Farage, in quite a shrewd political mood, I must say, announced that Reform UK's one of their major policies will be to bring down the price of a pint. And my God, do we need that? As I said earlier, around here, around where we work, around London, central London, £8.50, £9. Absolutely common for a pint of beer. It's all around the country, £7.50, £6.50. It's pretty astronomically expensive. Explain, if you will, Samara, how Nigel Farage intends to bring down these prices.
Well, it was a very interesting speech by him and Lee Anderson where they said that they do want to save Britain's pubs. Now, I think what stuck out to me about Farage's speech particularly was about how he wants to make sure that energy bills are lower, because that's a main issue for pubs, and that's what's actually driving up the price of pints. So he more went into the whole, we're going to scrap net zero, we're going to basically reduce VAT to 10% for the hospitality sector. And he said that when they get in office, the price of a pint should go down by about £1. Now, they had all the paraphernalia. They had these little cards.
But they didn't have any beer for you.
Yeah, they gave me this QR code on how to save the pints, but yeah, no alcohol.
Where's the beer? Where's the beer?
Yeah.
Now, you managed to get a question into Mr. Farage because at the weekend, Jeremy Clarkson, probably Britain's best-known pub owner, wrote quite a powerful piece, quite a powerful attack job on Reform UK, saying what a lot of people say, well, you know, you sound all right, but you got one policy, solving the migrant crisis, nothing else. You asked Mr. Farage about that, and here's what happened, folks.
Samara Gill from talkTV.
Jeremy Clarkson, a pub owner, he wrote a very scathing piece in The Sun this weekend saying that reform sounds great until you ask what they actually do beyond stopping the boats. He also said that voters don't know what they're signing up for. So can you name one policy on health, education or transport that would be measurably better after your first year in power, and tell us how voters would notice the difference?
Hello, Jeremy. Here we are. I'll put a copy in the post to you. I've not been to your pub yet. I trust I'm not banned, along with all the Labour MPs. There you are. There you are. And actually, what he's saying is wrong. Wrong. We've been unveiling new names, new faces. We've been unveiling policies for the last 6 or 8 months, actually in considerable quantity. So I can tell you, Jeremy, there's a constructive plan for pubs that also cuts the welfare bill. I'm sure he will approve thoroughly of that. And you can tell him we're working very, very hard on a proper agricultural policy as well. So I think perhaps he'd be reassured. Just spend less time with David Cameron would be my advice.
Interesting times. In terms of the beer policy, I mean, it does seem to me quite shrewd of Reform UK to say we'll bring down a price of a pint. The one kind of drawback in this policy is, of course, people love to go for a pint after a day's work. And by the time Reform UK potentially win an election in 2029, nobody will have a job.
Well, there'll be that, and there probably won't
so
be...
there'll just be a drink to forget.
There won't be many pubs left either. That's also the issue, because they are shutting down. They genuinely are at a vast, very, very quick rate. So, I mean, unfortunately, most of the questioning was around Mandelson when the journalist kind of got a leg in and wanted to ask him, and he had many words to say about that. But he is saying that he's going to do it by basically reintroducing the two-child benefit cap. So that's an interesting thing. He said that he only wants British families to be able to access that, and no foreign nationals to have any access to that, to those child
general
benefits.
savings will enable a Reform government to be much kinder to pubs and therefore bring the price of a pint down.
Essentially, yes, and we were looking for a potential Labour defection at this presser.
Yeah, when is that going to happen?
Yeah, well, someone in the production team just joked to me, was it going to be Mandelson just jumping?
It's Mandelson! Ta-da! That'll make a few headlines.
Well, every time I go to one of those presses, it's just they unveil someone new from behind a sort of glittery curtain, and so it was a bit dour not to have someone jump ship and come on to Reform, but I guess that they just wanted to focus on pubs today, but it was pretty much very Westminstery.
Well, you know, I'm very fond of the Reform team. We remain studiously impartial and unbiased, of course, as a presenter on this fine channel. But I like the Reform team. But I'm not sure what I think about their policy of having a press conference virtually every day, whether they need one or not.
They were loving it.
Well, welcome to the press conference. Not sure what we're going to announce today. Maybe someone will defect. We've got any defectors out there?
Yeah, it was pretty much that.
A queue down the street of Labour and Tory MPs ready to defect.
You're not wrong, Kev. I think the political theatre should not be overestimated because, as Jeremy Clarkson wrote in his great column For the Sun at the weekend, it is a lot of smoke and mirrors at the moment. There is a lot of sort of just dancing and political prowess, which is just basically motivated by Twitter at the moment. How many policies do we actually have from Reform? So I think someone like Clarkson putting a bit of pressure on Farage is probably going to be a good thing. And this seems to be some sort of policy, hopefully the first of many from them. But they're going to need to back up what they're actually saying and how they're going to save the country with actual facts.
Let me put a sort of question out to the audience. I mean, I asked what was the cheapest place you knew to get a pint. Anybody got the most expensive? Let me know the most expensive pint you ever bought. I could step outside of this office and go to the pub next door and probably beat yours. But seriously, it's very expensive around here. Let me know the most expensive pint you've ever had. But in terms of going to the pub quite regularly, like old people like me used to do, you know, people used to go for a couple of pints every night, you know, once they got home or after work. But of course they're doing that less and less for obvious reasons, because, you know, 20 quid down after 2 pints, that's going to burn a hole in your wallet. What kind of price would you be looking for a pint in a pub that would entice you to regularly go to your local or the pub next to where you work? What kind of price would you be looking at? £5 or £6? I don't know. Let me know. 03444991000. Just before you go, Samara, you heard a lot from Reform UK about Peter Mandelson. He's resigned, or retired, he's called it, from the House of Lords today. So he has finally accepted that nobody wants to see his scrounging, snivelling, lying face ever again. But the heat is he seems to think he can just sort of step back and all's going to be well. Gordon Brown writing to Met Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley with information relevant to his investigation of Lord Mandelson's disclosure of market-sensitive and confidential government information. That's pretty bombshell. That's quite a serious development. Mandelson, he should start measuring up his prison pyjamas, if you ask me.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say something ridiculous. No, look, he jumped
That's
before...
what you're here for.
He jumped before he was pushed, I think, in this situation with the peerage and all that. But I think you're right. As you were saying, actually, early yesterday, before a lot of information came out, he was giving sensitive information when he was business secretary to Epstein. That came out overnight. So you were right. There is more and more and more. But I say shame on Labour, because they've been sitting on this for decades. Why are they just coming out with it now? Gordon Brown, where were you months ago?
It's exactly what the audience is saying. You're in touch with them yet again, Samara. So, Mr. Brown, Sir Gordon, are you? Is he Sir Gordon yet? Probably. Yeah, they all get those socialists. They love their aristocratic titles, don't they? Well, Gordon Brown, you've written today done your public duty with information relevant to the investigation of Lord Mandelson. Why now? Why didn't you say anything before? If you've got incriminating evidence on this guy, it means you've had it for the best part of 14, 15, maybe 20 years.
Well,
why now? Why now? Were you withholding evidence, Mr. Brown?
Remember that photo gate that we had a couple months ago where he was seen publicly urinating Peter Mandelson?
Yeah, he can't even get away with that outside George Osborne's house.
Exactly. So I'm saying the rot is so deep within the Labour Party, and he's not the most rotten of the bunch, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they're all covering it up. They're all covering it up for him, or they were.
And if I don't want to hear one more Westminster twonk say he was the most clever man in power, brilliant political life. He's a clown. He's useless. Clever people don't get caught. He gets caught every time. As Samara just said, he can't even take a pee in the street without being photographed. The man is a loser, a massive loser, and he's going to jail, I reckon. Next up, we're going to talk to a music lecturer whose life was destroyed because he had the temerity to question critical race theory. That next. Stay tuned.
Do you think that the former Prince Andrew will go to jail over this?
I don't think he'll go to jail over this. I mean, I don't, but you did see the story yesterday that there's a new woman from Florida. A woman, she alleges that she spent the night at Prince Andrew's Royal Lodge in 2010, and she was sent by Jeffrey Epstein, and her attorney's talking. As long as he stays out of the States, I think that they can't force his hand.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's cover a story of our times, an incredibly unfair story. A dedicated music lecturer at the Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Music and Dance in Greenwich in southeast London. For 24 years he was kicked out unceremoniously because he had the temerity to question critical race theory and even dared to suggest that the sphere, the arena of jazz music, was not racist. That ruined his career. He was cancelled. He had to leave. Let's talk to the very wronged Martin Speake. Welcome, Martin.
Hello, Kevin. Nice to speak to you.
Thank you very much for coming on. Well, very quickly, I just tried to summarise your story. How long ago was it that you were sent an email, weren't you, at the Conservatoire, asking for your views on critical race theory, and you said that you thought it was overstated, and you also said that you didn't believe the arena of jazz music was racist, and these answers were not satisfactory. One student found out about them, complained, and that was the end of your career. Extraordinary.
Well, the end of my career so far. Hopefully I'm going to carry on in some form, but let me just clarify a little bit, because the original email in question from the principal was promoting BLM Diversity Action Plan, and this is nearly 2 years ago now, February 2024, and the email was sent to all staff and all students.
Yeah.
So everyone could respond, and he asked on 2 separate occasions in 2 different emails, as ever, I always want your feedback, which of course is not true, because he didn't want the feedback. And I know I'm the only person in the whole institution who gave any feedback, even though he asked for it. So I gave the feedback, pretty detailed about my career in jazz. I broadened it to the whole jazz world, not just the institution. He was saying there's systemic inequality in the institution.
I mean, you're a very well-known saxophonist, aren't you?
Well, I'm not as well-known as John Coltrane or Stan Getz.
Yeah, but you're up there, come on.
On the jazz scene in Britain, yeah, people know who I am.
Yeah.
That's true, and I've been in jazz education almost from the beginning in this country.
Yeah.
So I thought I was well qualified to respond, and they didn't seem to like the response. So the fact that it got into the hands of one student was fine. I shared it with the student because the students were supposed to be talking about this and responding anyway.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem a problem to share it with a student. One other student heard about it and got distressed, and that's what the story is. And you actually reported on it a year ago. I'm very grateful.
No, I remember. I remember. But you're now the reason we're doing this now. You are now suing for wrongful dismissal, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had a very nice article by the Sunday Telegraph. When was it? 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. Yeah.
And it was very. It was a joy speaking to the reporter, because he listened and he took a lot of notes, and it was very detailed. So the report seemed fair and accurate as much as he could. And so what's happening is, there's no other alternative for me. I mean, this is a crazy situation, and I know you know so many crazy situations.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why yours is a story of our times, Martin. It really is.
I mean, it's so sad, isn't it? It's insane. And none of this needed to happen. All we needed to do was have a discussion about the issue and then agree to disagree and carry on. But of course, it doesn't work like that now, does it? As you well know, as you've reported the last few years. There are only certain narratives that we're allowed to have on all these different...
Yeah, I mean, you would know about this, and you said that black musicians were definitely not underrepresented in British jazz. Now, I don't know much about jazz, but if you look at the history of jazz, the one thing you can't say about it is that black people never got a look in. Far from it. It's very much a sort of majority black kind of music, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, let's just unpick this a little bit, because the origins of the music are in America.
Yeah.
Culturally, that's very different from Britain. However, in fact, jazz now is over the last 100 years. You could say jazz is over 100 years old, and it's played in every country in the world. So, some countries have more black people than others. You know, if you go to Scandinavia, there's not necessarily loads of black people. People are still playing jazz. So now it's away from America. America is the origin of it, and certainly some of my heroes are black Americans. No question about it. So Charlie Parker on my wall and all that comes. So, however, in Britain, it's different. I'm not saying, of course, there's black players in here, but the music and the entitlement to the music, in a way, it's open to everyone. It doesn't matter what skin colour you are. And what I was saying was, in my experience of playing all over the world and being on the British jazz scene, all I'm saying is that I don't see discrimination against black people in jazz. That's all I'm saying.
And that just sounds so logical and plausible, Martin. It's ridiculous you got in trouble for it. You also dared, and for this, you really were going out on a limb. You dared to suggest that Black Lives Matter was a very dangerous organisation. You know their nickname, don't you? Buy larger mansions, which is what the organisers do with all the money they collect. Black Lives Matter are about as useful to black people, you know, as I am to China, if you know what I mean.
I totally agree with you. Very destructive organisation, and it's very disturbing that the principal in the original email said this is a BLM diversity action plan. So, and I didn't get a reply to say whether, so Black Lives Matter believe in defunding the police. Did he believe that? So I never got a reply from the principal anyway. So this goes nowhere. There's no discussion. So, which is bringing me back to why I have to have a legal action against them. So there's two issues. One is in employment discrimination and constructive dismissal, when they made it so untenable for me to be there, but as the students were 100% boycott of all my classes, that I had to resign. So this legal case, which I still think is insane, the whole thing, I never thought I'd be in this world.
No, sure.
Be on this programme, you know.
But doesn't it make you feel, Martin, you know, and this is the depressing element of your story. So many people have got stories like you. The depressing element is this, that you'd have been better off if you'd have kept your opinions to yourself. And that, I think, is promoting in this country, in the Western world, a really rancid area or atmosphere of self-censorship. Now, you chose not to self-censor, and I think that's a great thing. But your story says that if you don't self-censor, you may lose your job, you may lose your career, you may be extremely badly treated. And we need to do something about this. You know, you're in an educational establishment. You should be able to express your opinion, and people should be able to debate it. Why could they not just say, well, we don't really agree with you here, this is our point? Why don't you argue your point? Do you see what I mean?
No, great, have a debate, yeah. And people can change their minds in debates, right? There's also that as well. But that doesn't seem to happen. I'm totally with you, and we're turning into a kind of dystopia here. It's very disturbing. I thought a lot of people had read 1984, but we're actually acting it out now, aren't we?
Yeah, well, a lot of people have read 1984 under the misapprehension that it's actually a sort of a guidance manual on how to live. You know, that's how you live in modern Britain. I mean, they're not really getting the point. Now, when is your case going to come up, Martin?
There's a preliminary in May for 3 days, and then the main one. The full one is in August.
And just very quickly, I've got to go in a second. Great to have you on, by the way. What is the Conservatoire saying technically that you've done wrong?
I'm not quite sure. No, I think. I don't actually know. I think maybe they're saying I shouldn't have shared it with the student, even though they were asking students for feedback. It doesn't make any sense. I can't work it out, to be honest.
It's that classic thing. It's another tale of modern times. You allegedly distressed someone, therefore you're wrong. So this is the nonsense of just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right. Just because someone's distressed by your opinions, it doesn't mean they're right. Martin, we're going to keep in touch. And I want to wish you all the best with your action against the Conservatoire, which, if there's any justice in this world, you must win. Martin Speake there, jazz teacher, cancelled for his views on BLM and critical race theory. As I say, that's the time of a story of our times, isn't it? 03444 991 1000. Isabel Oakeshott will be with us next, so you want to stick around, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. She is our excellent international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Good afternoon.
Let's talk about yet another one of your exclusives. This is an extraordinary story. This concerns the migrant crisis. Guess what, by the way? More of them came over yesterday. I was told earlier in the day at least 60 had come across. I'm not sure what the final figure is, but I'll try and look that up. So they continue to come. In other words, they continue not to be stopped by the French gendarmes, who, of course, we've given £500 million to patrol their beaches in order to stop the migrants coming across the channel, something that they palpably do not do. Hence the fact that thousands and thousands of them come across from France to be welcomed into the warm embrace of our migrant-crazy country. Now, they're not very efficient at that. But they've got wind of the fact that more and more British patriots, some of them from the Raising the Colours organisation, but others as well, have been going across to France to do the job of the French gendarmes. They've been patrolling the beaches, trying to stop boats where they can, because they bury the dinghies, so they've been puncturing them, and, you know, trying to do what we paid the French gendarmes to do. Stop the damn boats. Stop the migrants. The French police suddenly are getting all efficient, getting very, very pompous and high and mighty about this, banning people left, right and centre from entering the country. So our boys, our patriots who've been going over there have exposed what I would call the pompous incompetence of les gendarmes, and les gendarmes don't like it, and now they're slapping bans on British citizens saying you're not allowed to come into France. This is a French farce, isn't it?
It is actually outrageous. So in recent days, a number of British citizens have been getting a knock on the door from the British police who have been hand delivering letters from the French Ministry of the Interior, which is like the French Home Office, in which they set out in great detail a bunch of grievances, this is the French authorities, against these British citizens. What does it all boil down to? What it boils down to is that the French police are embarrassed, as well they should be, by the actions of British citizens who have been going over there either just to peacefully document and expose the incompetence of the French police, or to take some form of direct action, as you described, by making holes in dinghies. Of course, they only do that when no one's in the dinghy, no one's getting harmed.
No, because they bury them. They bury them, and that's what the guys have been doing, finding them on the beaches, yeah.
Now, we obviously on Talk, we don't condone any type of militant direct action. And I'm using the word militant there, and I'm not sure if I should be really. The French police are calling these activists, I think that's more than what I would use, or campaigners, they are labelling them militants and essentially saying, we hear that you're coming over to France to stir up trouble, and you have been documenting what is going on in the migrant camps, and you have been sending that information back to the UK and putting it on social media. And they make a long list of accusations, to which most of the targets of these letters are saying, well, yeah, we have. You know, we're not making any secret of the fact that we're going to France to expose what you guys are not doing and try to do the job for you, since you won't do it. And so it is that a number of British activists have been banned from French soil pretty much indefinitely. And what I find, there are many extraordinary things about this, but what is so outrageous is that the French authorities seem to be spending so much attention and their time and focus on shooting the messenger. They are targeting desperate British patriots who've gone over there in despair at the inaction of the French police to try to protect our borders from all these people that we God knows where they come from or what they're going to bring into our country. And instead of targeting the illegal immigrants who are breaking the law by breaking into our country, the French police are doing the easiest possible thing and picking on the British citizens. And I truly find this astonishing, and I don't think our government should be assisting them in that endeavour.
Absolutely not. So, folks, what do you think about this? The French police getting their French knickers in a twist about our patriots going over to Calais, to the beaches there, to stop the boats, and actually succeeding in stopping the boats. You know what? The French are just angry because we're doing, or the patriots are doing, the job that they should be doing. They're embarrassed by being exposed as completely useless at stopping the boats. And by the way, I was right, Isabel, I just checked it yesterday. 56 migrants came across in one boat. That's the first time for some time because the weather's always so bad. But trust me, folks, still they come, and they will continue to come because, of course, this government has no deterrence. Thank you for that fascinating story, Isabel. Let's talk about Peter Mandelson now. First of all, by the way, my take on this is the main person in the frame for me is Sir Mark Rowley, the Met Police Commissioner. We don't want anybody let off this time. What's on trial here, Mandelson, maybe, and also Prince Andrew, is the establishment. Last time they nearly went for Prince Andrew, the establishment stepped in and said, no, 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 we won't be prosecuting him for the clear law-breaking incident of him trying to persuade one of his royal detectives, Scotland Yard detectives, to investigate Virginia Giuffre. That was against the law. The Met Police said, oh, we won't be investigating this. Well, we're sick of that. We don't want you letting anyone off anymore. We don't want you letting Mandelson off. We'll get to that in just a second. With a view to Mandelson not getting off, what do you think about the fact that just now, literally in the last hour, former Prime Minister Gordon Brown has written to Sir Mark Rowley, Chief of the Met Police, with information that he believes will be useful to the police as they investigate Mandelson, and this is with a view to the information, internal government information, that Mandelson stands accused of selling to Jeffrey Epstein. So Gordon Brown has just done that. He's released a statement to say what a magnificent citizen he is, helping the police. Why has it taken him so long? Why has it taken him so long to finally, reveal that maybe Peter Mandelson was up to no good?
Well, I think, to be fair to Gordon Brown, he's been trying to get some of this out for some time.
Yeah, he hates Mandelson, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, so there's quite a lot of scores being settled here. I mean, Mandelson was seen as very much a sort of, he was very much associated with the Blair side of the New Labour movement rather than the Brown side, and was sort of pivotal in getting Gordon Brown to finally leave Number 10 after that hung Parliament in 2010. And there were some emails released over the weekend about that. I think Mandelson says sort of finally got Gordon to go or something like that.
That's what
so
there's
no love lost between those two. Where will this go? The police are being under quite considerable pressure to investigate whether Peter Mandelson broke the law in leaking market-sensitive information when he was in the government to Jeffrey Epstein. As I mentioned to Jeremy Kyle on our breakfast show today, there was someone else who was also leaking government information to those who could benefit from it around that time, and that was Prince Andrew, who around the same time as Peter Mandelson may or may not have been doing this, Prince Andrew asked for a private briefing from the Treasury about a financial crisis that was ongoing, and he passed that straight to some of his banker friends. So, what's good for the goose may be good for the gander. Will Andrew get caught up in this police investigation too?
Andrew's also under the microscope for what is described as the inordinate amount of time he spent with Xi Jinping when he was a trade envoy for this country. That's another establishment stitch-up, the kind of thing that we hope we've seen the last of. There's the Queen. Oh, I've got this useless second son. He's just been kicked out of the Navy, or he's had to end his Navy career. He's got nothing to... Oh, hello, Mr. Blair. Could you find him a job? Oh, let's make him an international trade envoy so he can go and waste millions and millions and millions of pounds of taxpayers' money jetting around the world first class, staying in five-star hotels, playing golf and lining his own pockets, doing strange deals with far-off state leaders. So that, again, is something we don't want to see again. And Mandelson, the evidence is there. If the Epstein files are accurate, they reveal a man at the heart of government, at one point business secretary, at one point European Trade Commissioner, massively powerful man in the Labour government of course, Tony Blair, then Gordon Brown, and now Keir Starmer. Now, while he was working for Blair and Brown, he allegedly received $25,000 from Jeffrey Epstein, a payment that he seems unable to recall. Can't remember that. In fact, he says that everything that happened after Jeffrey Epstein was prosecuted, was convicted of paedophile child sex offences, are just a blur. Can't remember any of them. Can't remember any of it. It's extraordinary, isn't it? He also passed on information. This is in the files. These are emails that he passed on to Epstein, a Euro bailout that was going on in the EU, that Epstein, as a businessman, could have used to make lots and lots of money. If the Epstein files are true and accurate, it's there, the evidence. This guy was trading British secrets to an American billionaire businessman while taking money from him. Not only did he take money from him, so did his boyfriend. His boyfriend received tens of thousands of pounds for an osteopathy course. According to some files, he was on $4,000 a month from Epstein. Do you know what Mandelson described that as? Because we're all going, hang on, Mandelson was getting 200 grand a year then. Why wasn't he helping his boyfriend out? Mandelson said, I considered it to be an act of kindness on Jeffrey's part. Mandelson is a low-life, lying traitor, and I think he's heading for Wormwood Scrubs, and we don't want any establishment stitch-ups this time. The Met Police must investigate this guy, and they must thoroughly investigate Prince Andrew and not let him off the hook either. Am I right?
You absolutely are right. I mean, what is it about Peter Mandelson and money? You know, ever since the beginning of his career, he's talked about, you know, his attraction to being filthy rich and why that's all fine. And I've got nothing against people being rich, but I do think that if you're in public office, you ought to have a pretty clear memory of where the odd 25 grand is coming from. I know it's not 250 grand, but still, I don't know if I'm going to be forgetting even 2 grand that someone gave me, or even 250 quid. It's just not normal, is it?
Yeah.
And by the way, Kev, you mentioned China. Did you know that Prince Andrew had a Chinese bank account? I mean, I have an email in which he's like, yay, I've got a Chinese bank account. Well, yay about that, but maybe not for the British people, because the Chinese regime does not wish us well.
No, that's for damn sure. This is what is interesting about Mandelson. You know, as I say, if this guy's the cleverest man in Westminster, as he's often been described as, I'd hate to meet the stupidest. I mean, clever people don't get caught. This guy can barely breathe without getting caught, as I said to you this morning. You know, he can't even take a pee in the street without getting caught. He gets caught every single time. He's a clown. He's an idiot. But his memory is interesting. So he can't recall the $25,000 he got from Jeffrey Epstein, and therefore says it might be false. He can't recall standing around in his underpants with his meat and 2 veg virtually hanging out with a woman. He can't recall these emails he forwarded to Epstein. Of course, all of those are little boy lies by a man who has lied and lied and lied throughout his low life. What I find interesting is, here he is in these terrible straits, all these serious allegations backed up by the Epstein files, and this arrant fool, this clown, still thinks he can lie his way out of it. Well, he'll still be lying when he'll be tasting prison food the way he's going.
I think he must be truly frightened, although he'll have never admit it. He must be truly frightened now about where this is heading. There is such a hue and cry, and quite rightly so. You know, this is a guy who, after his first resignation, was frankly inexplicably offered a second chance. Second chances don't come around that often in politics when you've had a spectacular fall from grace. So he gets given a second chance, and so far from learning from the experience, goes on to have to resign again. You know, the arrogance of this, coming back to the front line in one of the most sensitive of diplomatic positions, arguably the most sensitive diplomatic position that we have, the UK ambassador to Washington. It's the most prestigious diplomatic job. And he knew all the while, he must have known that there was this massive unexploded bomb that could go off at any time under his own career. Yeah. And yet he did it anyway. What was he doing? Rolling the dice, just hoping that maybe this wasn't going to blow up in spectacular style. Again, you say, if he was so bright, you'd surely have the judgment to say, hang on, you know I've got this enormous skeleton. It's not so much a skeleton, it's like a whole army of bodies in my closet, and I'm just going to go for it anyway and put myself right out there.
I'll tell you, my old mum, God rest her soul, always said to me, she said, you know, Kev, the trouble with clever men is most of them are really stupid. And Mandelson is a point in case. He really is. You know, he's got an intellect, good, decent operator in Westminster, but the man, he's a moron, he's a clown, he's an idiot. He can't do anything without being caught, you know. if my life was like that, I'd be doing about 50 years in Parkhurst right now, because there are things I've done that really would get me in trouble. But I'm clever. I don't get caught. I'm just making all that up for effect. Isabel, really good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Let's take a call. Let's go to Steve in Cambridgeshire. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Kev. Basically, Julia was on this morning, and she was talking to a caller, and she said she can't understand why it's only like Mandelson and the British side of the files that are Epstein files are coming out. Well, if you remember...
I'm not sure that is the case, Steve. It's just that what's coming out is far more Ironically, weirdly, what's coming out of the Epstein files, everybody thought it would be disastrous for Trump, Bill Clinton and all that, but it's not that bad, particularly for Trump. But ironically and weirdly, it's really bad for Britain. Those have been the bombshell revelations, Peter Mandelson and Prince Andrew, or Prince Andrew as he was. Sorry, I interrupted. What were you saying?
Yeah. The thing is, Starmer humiliated Trump by feeding him a false narrative via Mandelson regarding the Chagos Islands. Niall Gardner was on X this morning, and he put out that now Washington have realised that they were fed basically a pack of lies, and that's why Trump agreed the Chagos deal at the start.
Yeah. By the way, remember this, Steve. You know, our friend Mandelson. You know, this dreadful Chagos deal, he regarded as one of his great achievements while in the 6 months that he was our ambassador in Washington. One of his great achievements was almost getting the Chagos Islands deal through, which we didn't want. It's a lousy deal. So he was part and parcel of that hopeless arrangement where we're giving away the Chagos Islands to China's best friend, Mauritius. That's what Mandelson did. That was his big achievement in Washington. Thank God he's out of there.
Yeah, well, yeah. But also the Daily Mail, I saw it a little while ago on Forbes. John Kennedy now, the Republican senator, has got hold of the Chagos thing. And he put out a thing today, and the Daily Mail posted it on Twitter, X. Yeah. And he actually said he was deriding Starmer. He said Starmer's ratings in the UK are second only to toenail fungus.
Well, I don't know. That's a bit unfair to toenail fungus. I think toenail fungus is more popular than Keir Starmer. But Keir Starmer's got serious questions to ask. And if Trump would just come out and sing from the rooftops, he's indicated it, but he hasn't said it loudly enough. If he just said America does not approve of Britain's Chagos deal, then the deal couldn't go ahead. But Trump is curiously resistant to doing that. If he just said it, the deal's off. So, Donald, if you're watching, we beg you, say you do not like the Chagos Islands deal. Steve, good to talk to you. Thanks so much for a great call. Let's go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Birmingham, the battle for Birmingham. You know, I've been covering this story that the Independent Candidates Alliance, a bunch of Muslims, are going to put up more than 60 candidates to stand in the Birmingham local councils. This looks like an Islamic takeover bid to me. Sharon Osborne, my friend, has stepped in. She's a Birmingham girl. Well, she comes from around those parts. She says she's going to stand against Shahid Butt, one of these councillors or these candidates who's actually a convicted terrorist. Sharon says, I'm going to stop that guy. Good for her. We're going to try and get her on the show, but we'll talk about this story next, so stay tuned.
we all think we're worth more, and I do think you should pay nurses more. I do think doctors do deserve a pay rise, but I'm worried this next generation of doctors don't see medicine like that. I worry that they see it as a little bit of a cash cow, and that they're thinking we can just keep voting to strike, which should be a last resort. We are putting people at harm. There is no way these doctors will be striking and not putting the NHS backwards or putting patients at risk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, we've been covering this story of the Independent Candidates Alliance, which is basically a bunch of Muslims, a couple of Muslim Islamic activists up there forming this alliance to field maybe more than 60, they say more than 60 candidates who'll all be Muslims at the local elections in Birmingham in May. One of them is a guy called Shahid Butt. He did 5 years in jail in Yemen for his part in a terror plot, plotting to kill, maim and destroy innocent victims. Also, he got done for owning weapons. He says, the whole thing was, it wasn't conspiring to commit violence, not terrorism as such. He's 60 years old now. He says he's learned his lesson, but a lot of people think, do we want convicted terrorists representing the people in Britain? Now, Sharon Osbourne, whose husband, of course, is a proud Brummie, or was, Ozzy Osbourne, Brummie, and Sharon's from that kind of part of the world as well. She saw this story about the convicted terrorist, jailed terrorist, standing for the council in Birmingham. She wrote, this has nothing to do with racism. I think I'm going to move to Birmingham and put my name down for the ballot to be on the council. She said later, adding, I'm serious. I know Sharon, and if she stands, she'll win. She is an impressive woman. Let's talk to the leader of the Birmingham Conservatives, a guy I've been wanting to talk to for some time. He is Councillor Robert Alden. Robert, I don't know if you've been following my brilliant reporting on Birmingham. No, we've been covering the story of these Ahmed Yaqub and the other guy is Shakil Asfar. They've formed this thing called the Independent Candidates Alliance. They're going to field more than 60 candidates. They say they're not all Muslims, but they'll nearly all be Muslims. It's seen as maybe a potential Islamic takeover of your great city. Sharon Osbourne has spotted it and said, right, I'm going to come back and stand against this convicted terrorist. First of all, Robert, if you will, your feelings about the fact, your thoughts on the fact that a convicted terrorist will be standing to be a councillor in Birmingham at the next elections.
Well, clearly, we don't think that's someone who's suitable to be standing for election. It is a free country, ultimately, but that's why we welcome Sharon Osbourne making this announcement that she wanted to stand against him, and why we wrote our open letter inviting her to join the local Conservative group here in Birmingham. We'll be able to put our weight behind her campaign and our message of trying to clean up Birmingham.
And let's hope she does it. I mean, she's a formidable lady. I like her a lot. So if she does come over and she does fight that seat, then I'm afraid that Mr. Shahid Butt will be in the punch-up of his life, and she'll win. I'll guarantee you that. Good luck to Sharon if she does that, and good luck to you if you do entice her over. What do you feel generally, Robert, about what Ahmed Yaqub and Shakil Asfar are up to? I had them on my show last week. In fact, can we have a quick look at this? This is the two of them.
So I absolutely believe the innocence of Shahid Butt. He was in a kangaroo court at the time. Even Amnesty International at the time recognized that this was a sham trial, and these people were being vilified for being British citizens. Because as you know, at the time, there was quite a lot of political conflict with the British, and Shahid Butt, unfortunately, was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and in his naivety, was sucked into something.
The wrong place at the wrong time, yeah, in a terror plot. Now, what do you feel, though, about what's going on here, Robert? Because these people are planning to field more than 60 candidates. Now, I'm all for a challenge to the two-party system. You know, why not? And that's what they're masquerading as. Oh, we're just people who want to bring the politics of the people and talk to people direct and get away from the tyranny of the two-party system. No, no, no. What they want to do is stick 60 Islamists into Birmingham Council. What do you think about that?
Well, this is why Birmingham's elections in May are probably the most important elections in a generation in this city. We've got a council that's been bankrupted by the Labour administration. There are now, as you've talked about, other parties coming forward. And the reality is, if the local Conservatives don't win in May, then you're going to have a coalition of chaos of other people running the city. And we do not want that. And the only people who can beat Labour in Birmingham are the local Conservatives. And that's why we're looking to attract people like Sharon Osbourne, a good upstanding citizen, to be able to hold other candidates to account and clean up our city.
What's going on there, Robert? You know, we saw that horrific event surrounding the banning of Jewish football fans from attending Aston Villa, the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. We now know that the police chief, the former police chief, Craig Guilford, made those decisions based on lies. His pretense that he got information to say these fans would be dangerous from the Dutch police. No such information was ever supplied. He said, I've been liaising with my colleagues in Israel. Not at all true. So the whole thing was a fix-up job. In fact, he later revealed to a parliamentary committee about 3 weeks ago that the local Muslim community, or should we say the local Muslim extremists, had told him that if the Jewish fans came into Birmingham, they would take up arms and attack them. So shamefully, he buckled and did what they said. What is going on in Birmingham with all of this?
Well, it was an utter disgrace what happened around the Maccabi Haifa match before Christmas, and frankly has scapegoated the Jewish community here in Birmingham. We've been continuing to raise, because although the Chief Constable's resigned, you're quite right to highlight that issue, that the police were told armed groups were going to carry out assaults on the streets of this city, and there has been no investigations about that. That's why we're continuing to push both the council and the police to actually investigate those incredibly serious pieces of intelligence they got, because the people of Birmingham have to be kept safe from armed hooligans going around our streets.
They certainly do. Well, listen, Robert, thank you so much for that. Good luck with Sharon. We're going to try and get her on the show ourselves. And let's keep in touch, because I do worry about what's going on in your fine city, and I think a lot of people around Britain do too. That's Councillor Robert Alden, leader of the Birmingham Conservatives up in that council, Britain's second city. It's got a very, very strong Islamic movement. Lots of Muslims there, nothing wrong with that, but too many of them are clearly extremists who want to mount some kind of takeover bid of Birmingham Council. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to be taking your calls. I'll read some of your messages, so give me a ring. 0344 499 1000. Peter Mandelson, should he be prosecuted? Should he go to jail? Prince Andrew, should he be prosecuted? Should he go to jail? We don't want an establishment cover-up here, do we? My view, the establishment is on trial here, and the old ways are dying a death. Mandelson, he shouldn't be allowed to just fade away. He's been selling our secrets, according to the Epstein files, taking money from an American billionaire businessman and selling him secrets from our government. That's treason, I think. It's certainly malfeasance in a public office. The guy needs to be investigated, prosecuted, and banged up in wormwood scrubs, if you ask me. So does that low-life idiot, Prince Andrew, as he was formerly known. Now he's known as... Well, his name is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. What do you know him as? Don't tell me. It's a family show. Your call's next. 0344 499 1000. Stick around.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Time to take your calls. It's good to talk on Talk, so let's do it. Let's talk. Let's go straight to Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie. You want to talk about Mandy. What would you like to say?
Good afternoon, Kevin. What more can I say? Yeah. Listen, the man's got a next to grind now with Starmer. You watch, the bloodbath is about to start in earnest.
Let me ask you this. I think you're exactly right. I think Mandelson, I've been making it very clear all afternoon, is heading for Wormwood Scrubs or a prison not of his choice. I think he's in serious, serious trouble. If the allegations emanating from the Epstein files are correct, he was, in effect, selling government secrets to an American businessman for that businessman's advantage. And that is against the law, arguably treason, certainly malfeasance, serious malfeasance in a public office. The evidence is there. If that's true, he's in trouble. Now, a lot of people are saying, with a view to the fact that police are now investigating. Gordon Brown, former Prime Minister, has just shopped his old mate Mandelson. He's just given Sir Mark Rowley, the Met Police Chief, loads of information pertaining to his time in government. Gordon Brown never liked Peter Mandelson anyway, so he's joined the gang, and they're all going to chuck Mandelson under the bus to save their own backsides. Not suggesting Gordon Brown has a backside to save, but a lot of people will be throwing Mr. Mandelson under the bus. He is finished. But this is what I want to ask you, Herbie. A lot of people saying that if, at the point where Peter Mandelson gets his collar felt, when the Met Police arrest Peter Mandelson, a lot of people are saying that is the moment that our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, will need to resign. What do you think about that?
Well, Kevin, Gordon Brown has got as much to answer. If he knew that there was something underhanded and he's kept it secret,
that's what I've been saying. Yeah.
He's just as guilty, and I think Starmer knows far more than he's giving up to letting us know. And I think the whole Labour Party at the moment are in real deep trouble.
I think they are.
Really don't know where they go.
I couldn't agree with you more, Herbie, because what we're talking about, people say, oh, Keir Starmer showed such a lack of judgment when he appointed Peter Mandelson to be the ambassador in Washington. What about Tony Blair? What about Gordon Brown? Gordon Brown made him the business secretary. While he was business secretary, his boyfriend's taking thousands of pounds from Jeffrey Epstein to do an osteopathy course. Mandelson just said, I thought it was an act of kindness by Jeffrey. Oh, yeah, nothing wrong there. Yeah. I mean, so terrible judgment by Brown, terrible judgment by Blair, but the worst judgment by our current Prime Minister. I mean, after those two scandals that got him sacked before, to appoint him to such a sensitive position.
He doesn't listen.
It's ridiculous.
He doesn't listen. But the Prime Minister doesn't listen. You know, look, with all what's been going on, the shake on silence, he does not listen to what the security people say. Nothing. This man's got deaf ears. He's got earmuffs on all the time. Yeah. When you're talking to him, he doesn't want to know. Listen, there's snouts are in the trough, and in the trough is super glue. And they're all stuck in there. You know, like rabbits down a hole. You know, it's unbelievable. Kevin, how much longer can we put up with?
Yeah, honestly, the incompetence. You know, these idiots. The trouble with people in Westminster, even the ones who rise to the top, they don't get out enough. They don't know much about the real world. So they have different standards. They all go around going, oh, Peter Mandelson is absolutely brilliant. No, he's not. He's an absolute fool. He's a clown. He can't do anything without getting caught. And yet they venerated him. They thought he was brilliant. They thought he was a genius. Let's promote this guy to the highest possible positions in government, and therefore he can go around selling our secrets to Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly. He is in a world of trouble, and he thoroughly deserves it, Herbie. Another great call from you. Thank you so much, mate, as always. Herbie in Harrow. Let's go to Mark in Lincolnshire. Mark, you want to talk about the countryside? Too white, too middle class, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I mean, those trees. Dear God.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, this is obviously just more and more of the continued left wing, you know, let's change everything. Let's diversify everything. And, you know, the thing that always upsets me about this stuff, Kev, is, you know, I don't feel particularly welcome in Luton, mate. I don't feel particularly welcome in Birmingham, Blackburn, Bradford, all these countries, but nobody seems to want to say
you know
anything
you know what's ridiculous about it, Mark? Look, there's the British countryside. As you say, it's got trees, it's got fields, it's got beautiful scenery, it's got lovely country pubs. Go and enjoy it if you want to, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a person of colour, whether you're white, whether you're Chinese, doesn't matter. Go and enjoy it. It's there. We don't have to adapt the British countryside to make it amenable to Muslims. Oh, you know, the trouble with country pubs is they sell alcohol and Muslims don't drink. So what?
Thing is, Kev, you're absolutely right what you're saying, mate. I mean, this is, as I said to, you know, I can't remember her name now, the woman I spoke to originally, you know, this is
Sophie.
bending over backwards.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Sophie.
Sophie, yeah. This is bending over backwards for a segment of the population that I believe represents around 6 or 7%.
It's 4 million of them. It's ridiculous. That's my exact point, Mark. You know, we
crazy.
countries that, you know, Saudi Arabia doesn't say, oh, we've got British tourists coming over. Let's try and turn Saudi Arabia into a kind of Britain. You know, let's get some pubs in. Let's get some McDonald's. They don't do that. Why are we doing it? It is absurd. Absolutely absurd. Mark, got to move on, though. Good call from you, as always. Georgina in London. It's time for her now. Hello, Georgina.
Hello, Kevin. Well, I think that this is going to be the start of the fall.
Mandelson, yeah, this is big, isn't it? This is big.
It's huge. This is huge, and I don't think people realise how deep this rot goes. You know, Starmer, Brown and Blair need bringing to account for their part in this filth. I mean, this is financial corruption and sexual debauchery. This is what this is. And rich and powerful men, Kevin, have always had a penchant for both of those things. It's been going on since time immemorial. The only difference being now, my love, is that, you know, we have got the technology that we can find out what's going on. They didn't back in the day. I mean, look at Edward VII. King Edward VII had a sex chair made so he could have relations with 2 women at the same time. You know, I mean, this has been going on, and it's amazing.
Have you got the design for that by any chance?
I've got a picture of it, Kevin. I've got a picture of it.
Well, send it to me. I'd be interested to take a look. No, but let's get back to Mandelson. The problem with Mandelson, or his problem now, is, you know, his relationship with Epstein, in terms of Epstein being a paedophile, a sex fiend and a pretty evil man. It's not the point. The point is his relationship was with an American billionaire businessman when he was business secretary, when he was European Trade Commissioner, and it now seems, according to the Epstein files, that Mandelson, in exchange for money being sent to him and his partner apparently at one point was getting $4,000 a month from Epstein, in exchange for that, it now seems, according to the Epstein files, Mandelson of course denies it, but according to the Epstein files, that for that money, Mandelson was selling British secrets, British governmental secrets. That, in my book, is treason, Georgina.
Well, it is treason. It absolutely is, Kevin. And it amazes me that all these men have such selective memories when they're called upon to recall what they've done, when they're questioned. You know, when these men get caught, they buckle at the knee. Yeah. And I think a lot of phone calls are made, and I think a lot of things are said to the tune of, well, if I go down, I'll make sure you go down with me. And I really do think a lot of phone calls have been made over the last few days, and there's a lot of very dirty undergarments, let me tell you. It's a real problem. But you know what, Kevin? It's high time that all these corrupt political bodies should be held accountable for their actions, and a total clear out of these corrupt individuals is long overdue. We need to do it, and we need to do it now. And Starmer, Blair and Brown, they need to be brought to account.
It's possible. By the way, Prince Andrew needs to have his collar felt as well. It's possible that the House of Cards might be about to collapse, Georgina. Really good to talk to you. Great phone call. Thank you very much, Georgina in London. Got a couple of voice notes. Pubs. We've been talking about the price of a pint. How much? I've got a couple here. Margate, the Princess of Wales. This is from Andrew. That sells Red Bulmer's cider at £4.90. £2.90 a pint. We've got any other pints? Here we go. This is from Gary, Frodsham in Cheshire. The Ring of Bells has great food, and the price of beer is between £4.30 and £5.50 a pint. Also serves the best fresh cooked food for miles around. £4.30, £5.50 a pint. Gary, we're from London. This is like kind of from a different planet as far as it costs twice as much to get a pint down here. It's extraordinary. As somebody contacted us earlier to say that up in Durham there's one place, Comset is it, where you can get a pint for £2.90. Where are these? I'm moving to Comset, by the way. Let's go to break, and when we come back it's time for Sun Sport in the excellent company of Deputy Head of Sport for that newspaper, Dean Scoggins. That next, stay tuned.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beers, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I just realised before the break I announced I was going to play two WhatsApp voice notes. They're both on pubs, and then I forgot. There were a great diatribe about how much pints cost in various pubs around the country and forgot to play the WhatsApp voice notes, but we will play them in a little while. In the meantime, let's talk to Dean Scoggins, Deputy Head of Sport at The Sun. How you doing, Dean?
I'm good, thank you.
It's always a rare thing in football, isn't it, for a football manager to complain that the club's not spending much on players. And quite often, though, they've got a point. Pep Guardiola, not so much. He spent 580 million quid on players.
Yeah, and that's just in the last 4 windows.
Yeah, and he's complaining that the club, he says, I'm grumpy I don't understand why the club don't spend more money.
Yeah, I think no one's going to have any sympathy, are they, Kevin?
No.
They're absolutely not. So, yeah, he's declared himself grumpy for them not spending enough. And let's just remind everyone, there's that 580 million in the last four years you talk about. This window, they signed Antoine Semenyo for £65 million from Bournemouth, Mark Gahey for £20 million from Palace, and he's out of contract in the summer, so that's quite a lot of money for a player with only a few months left on his contract.
Right.
But I think this is a little bit less about Pep talking about their own spending, and actually this is the Premier League mind games beginning already with Arsenal, who are playing Chelsea tonight, and it's basically, you lot are spending more than me and I've still got all the trophies. So this is a little bit, I think, of Pep starting to stir the pot. You know, we should be top if we spend all the money, but we haven't spent all the money. We're 7th on the net spend table. So yeah, he was a little bit, he was grumpy today, and he used that word himself. And his team play Newcastle tomorrow in the second leg of the Carabao, but it's 6 points behind Arsenal in the Premier League, and it's just him, I think, turning the screw a little bit on the others.
So he shouldn't pursue a career on the stand-up comedy circuit. So he said, I don't understand why the club don't spend more money, so I am a little bit grumpy with them. Why not spend more money? So let's go. And later he said it was a joke.
Yes,
I think it's not that funny, is it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a split between his live TV press conference and then his written press conference, where I gather he may have had one of the PR team in his ear after that.
Yes, and the owners saying 580 million quid. I think you better backtrack on that, Pep. Let's move on. Let's talk. By the way, before we do move on, what exactly is going on with City? Because they're not quite clicking, are they?
No, they're not. And look, it is down to the fact that they've had a lot of injuries, especially at the back, and Diaz has been out for a while, but they don't quite know what they want to be at the moment. And I just think this whole thing of whether we were debating in the office earlier on, I think it'll be Pep's last year. Whatever, you know, either way, whether they win it or they don't. And I think it would be one of his best achievements in management if he was to win it this year, because he is redeveloping a team. And, you know, to talk about his spending, you know, it's not the Aguero team that he had to redevelop that, you know, and he's lost big players over the last couple of years, and they're redeveloping that team, as Fergie did over those years so often, regenerating a side. So, yeah, they're not quite there, but as Arsenal fans will know full well, you know, Manchester City from February to May can go on those silly runs and could still do it from 6 points behind.
Yeah, I mean, they still can be phenomenal. They're just not quite as invincible as they were.
Absolutely.
Could be worse. They could be Liverpool, who last season were invincible, and this season they're useless. Let's talk about Tottenham. Two bidders
Talking of useless. Yeah. And I can say that as a Spurs fan. I hasten to add.
Two bidders joining forces in an attempt to buy Daniel Levy's stake. Who's that?
Yeah, so the American former DJ Brooklyn Eric, and then the Hong Kong consortium, which is fronted by a billionaire called Wing Fei, and they were the ones who were behind the bid last year, which got rejected by ENIC and Levy as chairman. Obviously now Levy has gone. I think this comes at a very convenient time for Tottenham, where fans are protesting, they're not very happy, and then all of a sudden there's a look of someone could buy out Levy's 29.9% stake. That would value the club at around about $3.5 billion, which, look, if they got the offer that they want, I think the club would sell. They're ripe for selling. You know, the stadium's fantastic. They're still in the Champions League. They've got a young squad now. The last couple of windows, they've been buying a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
So maybe they've got a future, and would that future involve Thomas Frank? Or
personally, I don't think so, and I don't think that. But another reason why I think perhaps they're not pulling the trigger at the moment. You sack another manager, you have to spend more on compensation, bring another manager in. But these are genuinely interested parties in buying a large stake in the club, which just shows how saleable that asset is at the moment. And unfortunately they're not doing very much on the pitch in the Premier League, but they are still in the knockout stages of the Champions League.
So do you think they'll stagger to the end of the season with Frank?
I think they will, I think that a lot will depend on the next couple of weeks. They've got 3 very, very tough games: Man United away Saturday, Newcastle at home on the Tuesday, and then the North London derby before they go back into the Champions League. But barring barring 3 embarrassing defeats in those, I think you're right. They'll stagger on with Thomas Frank.
I hate Thomas Frank because he's a former manager of Brentford, and I'm a Fulham fan, and we never forgive anyone.
Well, Brentford look better without him.
Yeah, well, but I don't care. Let's talk about tonight's big game, Arsenal-Chelsea. You mentioned it earlier, Carabao semi-final. Arsenal leading 3-2 on aggregate. I'll just get the info from the producer. Is that on TalkSport tonight? Is that on at all? Well, he'll let me know. What's your prediction? What will happen?
I think Arsenal do it. They've got an amazing record against Chelsea. I think it's not lost in 10. They've won 7 of those, I think. They got some good news today as well, Arsenal, where he won't play tonight, but Bukayo Saka will be back. Will only be a couple of weeks out injured, so that's a great boost for them. As I say, he won't play tonight. Chelsea just about squeezed past West Ham at the weekend. Arsenal brushed aside Leeds. Despite all of this talk of Arsenal stuttering a little bit, they've only lost once at home all season. They still look like an absolute juggernaut, and I know they don't like people saying it, but they just look like scoring every time they get a corner or set piece, don't they? And I'm not sure Chelsea have got that metal at the back to keep Arsenal out tonight.
Well, those half-time changes made all the difference against West Ham. They're coming back from 2-0 to win 3-2, but they won't do the same against Arsenal. You can rest assured of that. You reckon Arsenal will win the league?
I think they will. I think 6 points is it's obviously Man City can do it, but you look at it, Arsenal have to go to the Etihad. So that's the one fixture that you would think is standing out. But I just don't see Arsenal losing 3 games, and that, if they lose 3 games, including the City one, then you can turn that around. And that includes Man City, going perfect to the end of the season.
I meant to ask you, is Saka okay tonight?
He's no, not tonight. He'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the North London derby. But the injury is not as bad as first feared.
It wasn't really not laugh. Those injuries. He injured himself in the warm-up before the West Ham game, didn't he?
Yeah. They've not had great news.
What kind of warm-up would that be?
Well, not a very good one. But Mikel Merino is a bad injury. He'll be out for a while, but Saka's is not as bad as they feared, so good news for them again.
And that match, the Carabao Cup, Arsenal-Chelsea, is on TalkSport tonight at 8 p.m, so you don't want to miss that. Thank you very much, Dean Scoggin,
Pleasure.
Deputy Head of Sport at The Sun. Brilliant sports report there. Now, I did say earlier, I think we've got time, a quick voice note. This is Steve on pubs.
Just talking about the price of beer. Many, many, many years ago, when I first turned 18, I could go out and get drunk on £2. It was 33 pence a pint of lager. So 6 pints, less than £2. I had enough money to get chips on the way home. And now, like you say, I think near me, the local cost is about £4.50 a pint now. Scandalous, mate, scandalous. Cheapest thing to make, most expensive thing to buy.
I'll tell you a story about pubs, the price of a pint after the 6 o'clock news, when I'll be joined by Philip Kisley to go through some of the big stories of the day, one of which is the price of a pint. So Philip Kisley after the 6 o'clock news. Stick around, folks.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, in a little while, I'm going to talk to a guy called Joshua Schiffer. He is a former defence lawyer for Epstein's accusers, for the victims. Because some very serious stuff is coming out, not only about Prince Andrew, but also about his abysmal former wife, Sarah Ferguson. I mean, these people, Ferguson, Andrew, scum of the earth, and they're going, oh, Princess Eugenie and Bea, oh, well, those poor girls, they were dragged into it. When Sarah Ferguson took those two princesses to see Epstein after he was convicted of child sex abuse paedophile offences, they were 19 and 20. Hardly innocent little primary school girls, were they? I think they got to answer some questions as well. I'm so sick of these royals. Oh, he didn't do it, he didn't do it. No, no, no. They're just trying to save the royal brand. And a lot of people think that Andrew and Fergie have brought it so low it's now in an existential crisis. Have they destroyed the monarchy, those two? They've got so much to answer for, they really do. We'll talk to Joshua Schiffer, former defence lawyer for Epstein's accusers, who are the victims of all this, of course, in a little while. First up, though, let's go straight over to cover some of the big stories of the day. Senior fellow at the New Culture Forum, Dr. Philip Kisley. Hi, Philip.
Hi, Kev. Great to see you.
Always a pleasure. Well, listen, let's remind ourselves of what Nigel Farage said earlier today at a Reform UK press conference on the big story of the day, which is the decline and fall and indeed plummet of Peter Mandelson.
Well, it's always the bloke at the top in the end that has to take responsibility, even if it's not his or her fault. I mean, that's just the way it works in business, in politics. I mean, obviously, we don't know what the MI6 report that the Prime Minister received, or did he receive, did he ask for it before the appointment as ambassador to America. We don't know the details of that. But ultimately, I would have thought that the Labour backbenchers, who are moving quite rapidly to the left in terms of their centre of gravity, will be demanding that McSweeney goes within the next few days. Perhaps it'll take a week. And you'll know, as soon as McSweeney goes, that Starmer won't last long afterwards. That would be my take and my judgment. Ultimately, given, as I said a moment ago, all the previous warnings about Mandelson's behaviour, it is a grave error of judgment on behalf of the Prime Minister. And I think that's inescapable now.
It was also, Philip, a grave error of judgment on Tony Blair's part to promote this little toad, this snivelling, lying toad, to the highest positions in government. It was a grave error of his successor, Gordon Brown, the then Prime Minister, to promote Peter Mandelson to the position of Business Secretary. He also held the position of European Trade Commissioner during all this time. At one point, Mandelson, according to the Epstein files, received $25,000 from Jeffrey Epstein, billionaire American businessman. Doesn't matter that he was a paedophile, he's a businessman, and Mandelson was passing sensitive, secret government information to him. Later we learned that Mandelson's lover, his boyfriend, was receiving allegedly at one point $4,000 a month from Epstein to pay for an osteopath course that he wanted to do. When Mandelson was questioned about this, well, you were earning more than 200 grand a year, why didn't you pay for your boyfriend's osteopath course yourself? Mandelson said, I considered it was an act of kindness by Jeffrey. Now, this guy, Mandelson, if it's true, and it looks as if it is, that he was taking money to pass government secrets, memos to the Prime Minister, emails from the Prime Minister about EU bailouts, about policy on cash bonuses in the city that Epstein wanted changed. If it's true that he was doing this for money, that's selling British state secrets, if you ask me. That's treason, isn't it?
It is. It's kind of, it's Burgess and McLean territory, isn't it? It's that kind of, even though it's about money, it's not about ideology. It's not anything as highfalutin as that. It's simply venal and about money and about influence. I think this is. You really see how the whole edifice needs to just come crashing down. It's rotten to the core. And you've got to look at Starmer and you've got to think how stupid and gullible and naive he is. He took this man at his word, Kev, and this man's nickname is the Prince of Darkness. Okay. Call me
cynical,
whatever you want to call me, But I'd actually be a note of caution with me when I was.
Yeah, you see, that's it, Philip. Look, Blair. The man, Mandelson was clearly never fit for high office. Was never fit for office, and yet. He was smiled upon by successive Labour Prime Ministers. As I say, in Westminster they set the bar low, but they always described him as the cleverest man in Parliament. If he was the cleverest, I'd hate to see the stupidest.
Yeah.
The guy can't make a move without being caught, always gets caught. I don't think he's that bright at all. I think he's got an intellect. I think he's a political operator. Is he clever? No, he's not. He's stupid as hell. That's why he keeps getting caught. Today, though, Philip, the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown has announced, he's put a statement out saying that he has passed information on to the Met Police to help them with their investigation into what Mandelson was doing with Epstein during those years. Who knows what that information is, but it's a pretty significant development. I genuinely think that the direction of travel is this, that Mr. Mandelson will end up behind bars.
Well, you'd like to think so, but I mean, I'm really not sure. This is ultimately, Kev, this is an old boys network, isn't it? That's 30, 40 years old. The tentacles of influence really reach extremely deeply here. It is the government is riddled with it. The previous governments are riddled with it. The blob, the civil service, all of that. He is representative. He is symbolic in some ways of everything that is wrong with politics, that is wrong with our society, which is unfair, which is corrupt. So I would worry, bearing in mind the conversations we've had about the police forces, bearing in mind the conversations we've had about the judiciary, like many viewers and listeners, I have no confidence whatsoever in them. I'm sorry, but that's where we are.
I don't either, to an extent. The only thing I think may be different this time. Don't forget, the Met Police have already left Prince Andrew off the hook when he should have been done for getting one of his royal detectives, Scotland Yard detectives, to investigate Virginia Giuffre, his accuser, the young girl who said that he sexually abused her on 3 different continents. He allegedly, the prince, got a detective, his royal detective, to investigate this guy. That was wrong. That's malfeasance. That was an abuse of his position. That would be against the law. The police said, oh, we won't be investigating this. Now, what that was, that's an establishment stitch-up. We're not going to investigate a member of the royal family. Previously, they probably wouldn't have investigated Mandelson. Yeah, but I think that what Starmer knows now, that he'll be desperately trying to save his own backside. But what Starmer knows, and the establishment is now on trial. The people demand some kind of justice. Hang on a second, mate. There is a breaking news line here. A criminal investigation has been launched into allegations that Lord Peter Mandelson passed market-sensitive information to paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein, the Press Association has just announced. So he is now officially under criminal investigation. Now, what I think Starmer and the remnants of the establishment know, that this time it is the establishment on trial. The Met Police will be under orders, I think, not to do what they normally do. Oh, Peter Mandelson, he's important and powerful. Let's let him off. Oh, Prince Andrew, he's a member of the royal family. Let's let him off. I don't think they're going to be allowed to do that this time. It will be incumbent upon the cops to get this pair of lowlifes, both of whom stand accused of selling British secrets to foreign powers.
Yeah, well, I hope you're right. I absolutely hope you're right. And let's hope and pray that that happens. This breaking news is a very good start. Of course, the other thing that we want to come out of this as well is for everybody else. My guess is Peter Mandelson is not on his own. My guess is that this kind of corruption really runs so much deeper. And I just wonder what else is going on. Which other pigs have got their trotters in the trough as well as now? Seriously, I think so. I think this is a point of reckoning, and we've talked before about we're on the cusp of a new era. This is almost like a conservative counter-revolution. In order for that new era to really take root and for us to go somewhere with this country and for us to save this country, we have to do the work. We have to clear up. We have to get rid of all of this corruption. I think that's massively important because I think what's been visited upon us over the last few years, the last 10, 20 years since the Blairite era, is a kind of psychological abuse on the people of this country. We've been gaslit so much. We've been lied to. Now, politicians always lie, but as we're seeing from the Epstein files, as we're seeing from all of the stuff that's coming out, this is absolutely on another level. And it feeds into all of the stuff that everybody talks about. We've been lied and gaslit about immigration, about culture, about history, all of that. So there needs to be a reckoning. I come back to what I said before. I think he is a symbol and they really need to go to town on him. And bearing in mind, I think it's potentially a life sentence for this, isn't it, Kev?
It is. He's in serious trouble. As I say, this could be the crossroads. I take your point. If we carry on, if once again the establishment system presides over this situation, then you're right. Andrew and Mandy will walk off into the sunset, no questions asked. If the authorities realise, if Starmer realises, and I think it might be dawning on him, that the old establishment system here is breaking down and that the public demand justice this time, they smell a massive rat, not only about Mandelson, but also about Prince Andrew. Both of these guys stand accused of selling British secrets to foreign powers, foreign people, and that is treason, and the public demand justice. And if Starmer gets the memo, I think Mandelson will go to jail. I will repeat that massive development just broken in the last 5 minutes. Folks, listen. A criminal investigation has now been launched into allegations that Lord Peter Mandelson passed market-sensitive information to paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. Doesn't matter that he's a pedo in this instance. What this is about is a government minister, a high-ranking government official, politician in our government, passing secret government information to an American businessman for that businessman's advantage. That is malfeasance in a public office. It is potentially treason. And by the way, Prince Andrew stands accused of getting up to exactly the same nefarious antics. Before you go, can I ask you, moving on, this is a story that kind of broke yesterday, but it's annoying me. We're hearing that as many as 200 local authorities are very keen on taking up a government proposal to build brand new council houses on derelict land that is ripe for construction, to build brand new council houses specifically for asylum seekers and migrants, not British citizens. That is a recipe for disaster. Why is this government always coming up with policies that prioritise the needs, wants and desires of migrants and asylum seekers over British citizens? There's a lot of British citizens waiting for council houses. They should be given these new council houses, not migrants, yes?
It's absolutely extraordinary. There are 1.3 million families currently on the social housing waiting list. 1.3 million families. That's utterly insane. Now, I think Keir Starmer's on the verge of yet another U-turn because his own backbenchers, his own MPs are up in arms about this. Big beasts like Graham Stringer, but also the backbenchers. One of them called it a bonkers scheme. I think this is probably one of the first times ever I've agreed with a Labour MP. It is absolutely, but it's immoral, isn't it? And we're seeing this government, as I always say, this is a government that rules by the day, if not by the hour. They don't know what they're doing. They're coming up with these ridiculous schemes because they are in trouble with the broader picture. They cannot deal with how many was it last year? 41,000 immigrants came over on small boats last year. They just cannot deal with the broader picture. So they're coming up with solutions which aren't solutions, which are actually harmful to the British public, the most vulnerable people in our country, the people who are actually homeless, living in B&Bs and all of that kind of stuff. Again, they're the victims. Again, they're the targets. Kev, it's absolutely sickening.
It really, really is. How much is a price of a pint where you live, Philip?
Well, it depends where you go, but it's up here in Yorkshire. But I mean, you can pay anything up to £6.
Yeah, well, that's a serious bargain round where I live. Do you know how much? Do you know how much? I went to this pub. This isn't beer. My local pub, which is just up the road from me, very close. I can see it from my house. A large glass of wine, I'll give you that. But a glass of rosé, which I like, is £14. The other week, I'm a Fulham fan, so I went to a pub near Fulham, my club. Obviously a smart area of London, and they said, "Oh, we haven't got the normal rosé. We've got this other one. Is that okay?" I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll have a glass of that." 21 quid for a glass of wine.
But it's insane. I was listening to the viewer who was talking before, and he said he could drink about 5 or 6 pints and have some chips on the way home for about 2 quid. I think we're so far away from that. But the thing is, it's not just about alcohol, is it? It's a war on pubs. They don't like pubs.
Yes.
People getting together. It's a war on that aspect of British culture, which links to another story this week about the countryside.
Rural pubs not serving the Muslim community enough.
Exactly.
Because Muslims don't drink alcohol, and therefore they find rural pubs to be unwelcome. Well, don't go there then. It's ridiculous.
Don't go there and avoid dogs. But what we're not going to do is change our culture.
Yeah, exactly right. There's the British countryside. It's lovely. It's got pubs in it. It's got dogs running free in it. If you don't like it, don't go there. We're not going to change it for you. Deal? Philip, really good to talk to you as always. Great stuff. Philip Kisley there, senior fellow at the New Culture Forum. I'm just going to play, this is Shirley on Pubs, but before that I'll tell you a little story, one of my anecdotes. Stay awake, will you? No, seriously, when I was a young reporter on a local paper, long time ago, last century, I went for a pint near where I lived in those days. That's where I was brought up, sort of Shepperton, around there in the West London suburbs. And I went for a pint in a pub in Chertsey, by the River Thames there. And this was a way back. And I was stunned that the price of the pint was a pound. It was a pound. So that was in those days. So this is my story. So I, as a sharp young journalist reporter, I thought that's a national newspaper story. £1 a pint. So I rang the Sunday Mirror news desk and I said, I just bought this pint for £1. And they went, what? And the whole of the front page was the first £1 pint from this pub. So that proves how far we've come. That was a massive story. Like, you got £1 for a pint? Now around here where we work, it's probably near enough 10 quid. Extraordinary. This is Shirley on Pubs.
I just want to shout out to our local pub. It's in the most idyllic little Cotswold village. I'm going to shout it out, please. It's called the Cherrington Arms in the village of Cherrington. Happy hour Friday, 5 till 6. Hubby and I go every week, and I am proud to say, yes, it's mostly all white. Farmers, local workmen, everybody piles in for drinks between 5 and 6, cocktails, beers, everything. Fair prices and a lovely bunch of staff, and it's fantastic. Long may it continue to keep it that way.
Shirley on pubs, the Cherrington Arms sounds great. She didn't say how much a pint actually is, but during happy hour, I bet it's a price that will make you very happy. But keep getting your prices coming in. What we got here? Here we go. Just a note on the pubs. Price of a pint in the Mason's Arms. It's Pudsey near Leeds. I thought Pudsey was a bear for children in need, wasn't it? Well, obviously he comes from Leeds. This is Pudsey near Leeds. You can get a pint of John Smith's Bitter in the Mason's Arms for £2.30 a pint. Whoever put it's Graham sent this message. Thanks, Graham. He says beat that. I don't think we can, Graham. Can anyone beat that? £2.30 for a pint of beer in the Mason's Arms in Pudsey near Leeds. Anyone come across anywhere where you can get a cheaper pint than that? If you can't, let's all get in our cars. Let's go to Leeds. Pudsey, here we come. £2.30 a pint. Anything cheaper? I can't say fairer than that. Next up, we're going to talk to a former lawyer for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Very important story, so stay tuned for that.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits, and that's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest. He's a former defence lawyer over in America for Epstein accusers. He is Joshua Schiffer. Welcome, Joshua.
Thank you so much for having me on another crazy day as this story continues to unfold.
It is a crazy day, and over here you can imagine a massive story. We've got this major politician, a man who was at the centre of government for generations, Peter Mandelson, now at the centre of an official criminal investigation which has been launched into allegations that Mandelson passed market-sensitive information to paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. The former Prime Minister Gordon Brown has in the past hour revealed that he has passed information on to the police force in this investigation. So Mandelson is in a world of trouble. We think that if these allegations are true, that he was taking money from Epstein while he was a senior government minister and feeding Epstein sensitive secret government information, he's heading for jail. There's no doubt about it if those allegations are true. But in all this sort of fun and frivolity that we're having at Peter Mandelson's expense, because the thing about Peter Mandelson is, you know, hardly anyone in his whole life ever liked him. Everybody hates Mandelson. So we're enjoying his downfall because he deserves it. But in all this fun and frivolity, we forget, don't we, what we're really talking about. He was part of a circle of friends who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein cajoled and persuaded all these young girls into his evil network, and they were sexually abused all over the world. That is very, very serious. You represented one, Jennifer Eros. She was recruited outside her New York City high school to provide sexual massages to the wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein. So if you can, Joshua, try to sum up your feelings about the level of this crime. I think of Jennifer and it makes you cry, it makes you weep.
Well, Jennifer was definitely the most well-known, but we actually handled multiple others because most people don't understand that the vast majority of Jeffrey Epstein's victims chose to remain absent from the public discussion. And that was for their own self-worth and their self-being, their own self-help or health. Because think about it. Look at how big this has gotten. And imagine the decisions that you were involved with and the incidents that you were involved with as a young person, literally chasing you for the rest of your life. And it's that anonymity which they purchased by participating in the Victims' Compensation Fund that's now been destroyed through this recent 3 million pages posted by the U.S. Department of Justice, a release which has also now parts have been taken down, more redactions have been made. Just like the first release, it appears that this was a pretty sloppy job, all things considered, and that certain people were thoroughly protected with very aggressive redactions, where other information kind of just fell by the wayside, and no one really checked to find out if you were illegally and wrongfully releasing the pertinent identifying information for victims who, without a doubt, have gone through something that will affect them for the rest of their lives, the kind of injuries that every parent is terrified about when it comes to their child.
Well, talking about parents, what do you make of this? You know, Prince Andrew, or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor as he is now, he insists that he did not sexually abuse Virginia Giuffre on 3 different continents, but nevertheless gave her $12 million not to take the court case to civil court in New York. You wonder why he did that if he'd never met her. That's what he keeps saying. So believe that, and I've got some swampland to sell you in Florida. But seriously, this guy and his wife, Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, they kept up a close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, as did Peter Mandelson, after Epstein was convicted of child sex abuse paedophile offences. Now, Sarah Ferguson, we've only learned today, almost immediately after the end of his sentence, when he'd finished his sentence for paedophilia, she took her 2 daughters to go and see him, to have lunch with him. That's Princess Eugenie and Beatrice. And a lot of people said, oh, those poor girls, they were sucked into this, you know, they're so young. Well, they weren't that young. They were 19, they were 19 and 20. What do you think of people like Mandelson, Prince Andrew, as he then was, and Sarah Ferguson, maintaining and keeping up a close friendship with a convicted paedophile.
It illustrates exactly how out of context and out of touch they are with the general society at large. When people of such poisonous repute enter your life, the vast majority of people wise up and go, oh, that person is a societal and cultural danger to me and the people I hold precious. Let's make sure that we're not exposed to them. And what we've seen is exactly the opposite. As soon as this gentleman who received an outrageously, indefensibly generous resolution of very, very strong charges against him in the state of Florida, as soon as he's out, you're seeing the resumption of these relations, which so far many people have said, oh no, we cut and ran. We had nothing to do with him. Look at the Lutnick statement that's come out. And again, with the princesses, with Fergie, with former Prince Andrew, you're seeing continued interactions that don't appear at all respectful of the victims that Jeffrey Epstein created. And he created these victims over many, many years, involving many co-conspirators, co-collaborators. And so far, the only one that's gone to jail is Ghislaine Maxwell, who's getting ready to appear and probably provide some interesting testimony to the government over here in the United States. It's a shame no one additionally has been prosecuted. And we'll see what happens now that there's the new investigation in the UK, and I'm waiting for additional investigations here in the United States.
Yes, indeed. Now, of course, to some extent, Andrew and Mandelson could redeem themselves by testifying to Congress, the congressional investigation into Epstein's network. As you say, this was a network, this was a scandal of men, and the only person to go to jail for it is a woman. Again, in my view, a story of our times. That's all wrong. I don't suppose Mandelson and Prince Andrew, or Andrew as he now is, will testify to Congress, but it would be a decent thing for them to do, wouldn't it?
You know, I'm a criminal defense lawyer by trade, so it's almost never in my client's best interest to put themselves up on that kind of platform and subject themselves to an aggressive and effective cross-examination. But considering the stakes and what's been lost, is there any pathway forward to redemption? And is redemption that worth it for them? If you're former Lord Mandelson, or soon-to-be former Lord Mandelson, or the former Prince, you've got to wonder, what gains would you get by really thoroughly coming out and admitting to what you actually knew and participated in? Could there be any recovery from that, even given the ostensibly really positive contributions they've made in other parts of their lives? I don't think the community is willing to forgive, especially after years of denials that have now been shown to be flatly lies.
Yeah, they lied. Now, you have dealt with all these poor victims of Epstein. Tell me what you think about people like Andrew and Mandelson, Sarah Ferguson, who resumed their friendships with this monster after his release from jail for his paedophile sex crimes. What do you think of those people?
Well, so there is definitely some credence to be given to the idea of guilt by association, and mere association or mere presence doesn't indicate guilt or doesn't indicate that you actually participated in these sordid and disgusting crimes. But when you see the repetitiousness, when you see the long-term interactions, where it would be very difficult for anybody in my position, or from my position, for anybody to be friends with Jeffrey Epstein without knowing the reputation, without seeing the assorted detritus in his path that he's left of all of these young women. Remember, to anybody that's visited the BVI or the USVI, these are very small communities. Very little happens without everybody knowing, especially when big money's at play. And he was spending a lot of money down in the USVI.
Central question to Peter Mandelson, Sarah Ferguson, Prince Andrew, if you like, maybe Bill Clinton, Bill Gates. It's this question, isn't it? What first attracted you to the billionaire Jeffrey Epstein? It's as simple as that. Always, Joshua, follow the money. Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. That's Joshua Schiefer, former defence lawyer for Epstein accused. He's represented a number of the victims of that awful man. What do you think about Andrew and Fergie and Mandelson, who basically shrugged their shoulders when their good billionaire pal Jeffrey Epstein got nicked for paedophilia, for child sex abuses, and resumed their friendship afterwards as soon as he came out? Oh, it's funny what money can do, isn't it? What do you think of those people? 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we'll be joined by Deputy Head of News at The Sun, Will Barker, to find out what will be in Britain's favourite newspaper tomorrow morning. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's find out what is going to be in The Sun tomorrow, Britain's favourite newspaper. In the studio, Will Barker, Deputy Head of News. Now, I imagine, welcome Will, I imagine that a certain Peter Mandelson might feature fairly large in your fine newspaper. What line are you going to go on?
Well, I mean, Epstein is just taking over.
How about this headline, "You're screwed," or something like that?
Well, it really is looking bad for him. I mean, obviously...
You should mock him up with a prison outfit. Sewing mail bags or something. Yeah. Seriously, what's your line?
So, I mean, we've just been in the hands of breaking news of the way it's all gone through the day. I mean, we've been trying to pull these emails together. There's obviously 3 million of them. We've only sort of chipped the surface, and there's things coming out constantly from other journalists. We're finding stuff. There is a bit more tomorrow on various people involved in this issues, and it's just taken over everything at the moment.
And you've obviously seen in the last half an hour a criminal investigation has now officially been launched. You also saw Gordon Brown sticking a knife in, issuing a statement saying he'd supplied all useful information to the police as part of this investigation. The one question I'd asked about this is, well, if you've known about this all these years, Gordon, why didn't you tell the cops before?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. They're all coming out in this email. These emails are going so deep. It comes from that period where I think people just talked willy-nilly on these emails and revealed so much. And it's all there in black and white. And he's going to really struggle to argue against it.
Yeah. But this is extraordinary, this stuff. We're talking about Starmer now. You know, Blair clearly lack of judgment, made a mistake with Peter Mandelson. Mandelson should never have been anywhere near government. He's got the wrong kind of personality. He's a flawed character. Blair made a mistake, but OK, he was the first one to do it. Then Brown made the same mistake, appointing him business secretary. So you would have thought, well, hang on, this guy's already had to step down in a scandal because he took a big loan from Jeffrey Robinson without declaring it. Also, he tried to get a dodgy passport for the Hinduja brothers, so he had to step down for that. So you would have thought Gordon Brown might have said, oh, no, maybe not, but he didn't. But surely Keir Starmer, third time unlucky, you should never have made him ambassador in Washington. So this is the quote, Will, from Downing Street. It is right that Peter Mandelson will no longer be a member of the House of Lords. As the Prime Minister said this morning, Peter Mandelson let his country down. Well, Starmer, you appointed him. Didn't Starmer also let the country down by appointing this clearly flawed character to such a senior diplomatic role?
Well, it strikes me, I've heard tale that he just wanted him out of the country, so he just could boot him off over there. But I mean, from people I know who've met him, he's an incredibly charming guy, and he can.
If he wants to be charming, I met him a couple of times. If he wants to be charming, he's charming.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to be, he's terrifying.
But all these emails are lifting the lid on clearly how he was working his power and moving people places and getting money here and there. And
as I keep saying, though, we keep he's the cleverest man in Westminster. Clever men don't get caught. This guy can't even take a pee in the street without getting caught. So let's not get too lost in wonder about the brilliance of clown show Mandelson, shall we? I love this story that you've got, Air Smiles.
Yes.
Well, you explain it. It's great.
It's another indictment on our rail system, unfortunately. I mean, as you know, it costs tons of money to go anywhere on the railway, and also they go very slowly. Often on a Sunday, you get hit by engineering works. So one woman living in Newcastle sat down and did her maths and worked out.
So she was going from London to Newcastle. It was going to cost more than 100 quid.
She was going to go and visit some mates up in Newcastle. She was going to. She worked out it was going to cost £110 to go from King's Cross to Newcastle. Take about 5 hours. She had to swap twice, had to take a bus replacement, and then she suddenly spotted there's a Ryanair flight that went from Stansted to Milan, and then Milan to Newcastle. And it cost 30 quid cheaper.
So she did it?
She did it, yeah.
So,
and it took roughly around the same kind of time.
Rather than get a train from Newcastle to London, in order to save money, this very smart businesswoman, Victoria Williams, flew to Milan, then flew back to London, and it saved her 30 quid. I can't think of a worse indictment for our rail system than that.
Exactly, yes.
What's this one? Poodle Translate.
Well, this sounds a little bit like sci-fi, but our reporter Alex West assures it's a thing. It's a proper thing. According to the videos on their website, there is now a gadget you can fit your dog with a dog collar, and you can talk to it, and then in some sort of AI way, it can translate it into sort of various weird noises and sort of sounds. And
can you get me the remote?
Yeah.
Things like that.
And according to this video, the dog then goes and finds the video.
So this is a sort of electronic Dr. Dolittle.
Yes.
A way of talking to the animals.
Yeah.
There you go. Gonna get one of those. We lost our dog last November. When I say lost, we had to put the poor thing down. We miss him immensely. I'm not sure I'd have wanted to fit one of these on him. God knows what he would have come out with. He was crazy. Yeah. Chasbo, still missing you. Will, brilliant stuff. Will Barker, Deputy Head of News at The Sun. That's what's going to be in the paper tomorrow. I love this train story. Mandelson will be great in The Sun. You should mock him up. I fancy that, you know. Prisoners' uniforms, sewing mailbags. You better get used to it. Next up, what are we doing next? We're going to be talking to you. Of course. What else? We're going to finish the show by taking lots more calls. I'll read some WhatsApp voice notes, and I'll go through some of your texts. So give me a call. It's still time to get on the show. 0344 499 1000. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk That next. Stay tuned.
welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle's from Suits. That's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel.
Raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go to the phones. Don't forget, Alex Phillips will be in just a little while to tell you what she's got lined up for your delectation from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. That's the Political Asylum, a programme that I made, that I created and turned into a smash hit. One of my big faults is my modesty. I'm too modest, I really am. No. Alex is doing a great job with it. I'm joking. And she's much better at it than I am. It's going to be great. 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. She'll be in a minute. A few messages before we go to the phones. Texts. This is Graham. Yeah, no, we did this one, didn't we? The Mason's Arms, £2.30 a pint. Can anybody beat that? £2.30 a pint. We got Phil from Essex says, Peter Mandelson literally caught with his pants down. Not quite, but near enough. Those pictures in Paris, in Epstein's Paris pad, standing there with just his underpants on, talking to some woman in a bathrobe. Of course, Mandelson said he can't remember that. He can't remember the $25,000 that Epstein allegedly wired him. He can't remember anything after Epstein was done for paedophilia, for child sex abuse, when he continued his friendship with him. He said, oh, all of that time is a blur. Stop lying, Mandelson. Stop it. Stop it. Just start telling the truth for once in your low life. Seriously. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Roy in Hampshire, who's got the price of a pint right out of history. How much did it used to be, Phil? Roy, sorry?
1 and a tenner, mate.
How much was a pint? 7.5p. How much is that?
1 and a tenner. 1 and 6.
1 and a tanner. 1 and 6. A tanner, I remember that.
Yeah.
1 and 6 for a pint. That is...
And it was half a crown for a whiskey mac.
Half a crown.
Yeah,
that's 2 and 6, wasn't it? 2 and 6. What's that? That's 10p. That's 12.5p, yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, our old mate Andrew.
Yeah.
What's that island where we sent Napoleon to?
It wasn't Pedo Island, was it? Elba.
No.
Elba.
Yeah, can't we send him over there?
To Elba. It's a very nice holiday island there, so he'd probably have a nice time. So we want to send him there. I'm thinking of some sort of island, you know, off the coast of Siberia or something like that, where he can freeze to death. That would be nice. Listen, Roy, 7.5p a pint, eh? Those were the days. Thanks for a good call, mate, as always. Roy in Hampshire. Let's go to Paul in Manchester. Hi, Paul.
Good evening, Kevin. Great show as usual, my friend.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to talk about this Mandelson. If you look, British politics that I know for the past 6 years has been embedded with scandals. You look at the Profumo affair in 1963. You look at Jeffrey Archer in 2001. Got sentenced to 4 years in...
we remember that. Yep.
For 4 years for perjury. He can't... Maybe Jeffrey Archer can send or talk to Mandelson about...
But the thing is, Paul, this is on a different level, though. I mean, you know, all those people deserve their fate. They were corrupt, but... Mandelson, if these allegations in the Epstein files are true, was essentially passing government secrets to an American businessman in return for money. He was receiving money. He denies that he can remember receiving $25,000 from Epstein, but does confess that his boyfriend, his lover, his partner was receiving money from Epstein on a regular basis. He admits that. He was the business secretary then, and he was passing sensitive, secret government information to Epstein. That's arguably treason, definitely malfeasance in a public office. It's a serious offence.
It is treason. It is. If I sold secrets to the Russians, I would be sent to life for prison, Kevin.
I think it's potentially secrets. I think it's potentially treason. I really do. It's certainly a treacherous act. It is treacherous to sell British government secrets to an American businessman. That is treacherous. It's as simple as that.
To be fair, it wasn't actually a secret. He got information.
Well, it was secret, Paul. It was emails between him and the Prime Minister.
Right,
That's not for public consumption. This was secret. This was secret.
But if you know the stock market's going to...
Yeah, that's exactly. It was a method by which Mr. Epstein could have made, and probably did, knowing him, billions of dollars on the stock market. It's as simple as that. This is serious. Paul, good call. Thank you. Paul in Manchester. Let's go to the appropriately named Mandy in Felixstowe. What would you like to say about the other Mandy? Mandy?
Evening, Kev.
Hi.
How much of a whitewash is this investigation going to be?
I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. Not this time. I think the game's up. I think the game's up. I think the establishment game's up. We're going to get Mandelson. I think they're going to get him.
I hope they do, because I'm fed up. All these inquiries that take years over here and nothing gets done.
Yeah, well, I absolutely take your point, Mandy. That has always been the system. Why was Prince Andrew let off, even though he definitely tried to get one of his royal detectives from Scotland Yard to illegally investigate Virginia Giuffre? Why was he let off? Why did Scotland Yard say, oh, we're not going to investigate that? Why not? It's just because he's a member of the royal family. That's not going to happen this time. He's in big trouble, Mandelson's in big trouble, and about time as far as I'm concerned.
Starmer is being dragged into this as well.
Oh, that's for damn sure. He's in deep trouble as well. A lot of people saying if Mandelson gets arrested, Starmer will have to resign. Fingers crossed. Mandy, great call. I've got to move on, though. Mandy in Felixstowe. Let's talk to the great Tarquin in London. Hi, Tark.
Brilliant show, Kevin. Great, fantastic, as per usual.
Thank you very much.
You're absolutely right about this, and it's even bigger than you say, because in a previous life, I was employed by the illustrious British Telecom, and one of the first things we had to do, Kevin, was sign the Official Secrets Act, because we had privileged data.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's no way that anybody like a business secretary erstwhile would have been able to have that job without signing the Official Secrets Act. If we were on pain of death, if we ever divulged even so much of a morsel, that was during the period of the IRA. So where the hell was GCHQ on all of this? Where the hell was MI6 and MI5 and all this?
Well, the word is, Tarquin, that MI6 and MI5 advised the Prime Minister against appointing scandal-prone Mandelson to the position of our ambassador in Washington. They said, no, this guy's a risk. Once again, our Prime Minister overlooked that, overruled that, just like when MI5 and MI6 told him, don't, for God's sake, let the Chinese have a mega embassy in the City of London. He overruled that as well. Our Prime Minister, I think, is a threat to our national security. Tark, I've got to go. Another great call, though. Thank you so much. Tarquin in London. She's in the studio. She is the one and only Alex Phillips. How are you?
Some might say there's more than one.
No, that would be too terrifying.
When I was an MEP, there were two of us, both called Alexandra Phillips, both elected to the South East.
I bet the other one wasn't as good as you.
The other one was a Green Party MEP. So, you are.
So I'm right. What do you got coming up? Mandelson, come on.
It's got to be Mandelson. Cartels, criminality, compromise.
Do you agree with me? A lot of people phoning up, and I absolutely sympathise. Several of my guests as well today. Oh, it's going to be another establishment stitch up there. He's going to get off. So's Andrew. I think that the authorities and Starmer, they all know this is the end of the...
You can't stitch it up because they're dealing with a different jurisdiction.
It's the end of the establishment game, isn't it?
This stuff has come out in America. You can't hide that. They can pull out what they want. They can demand he goes and testifies. Let's see if he does. It'll look very bad if he doesn't. But if he does, he's swearing under oath. He's got to tell the truth.
And he's got a criminal investigation now. Old Gordon Brown stabbing him today.
Keep pulling that thread because there will be more.
Yeah.
There will be more. And you know what? I just have a funny feeling about the cartel of legal eagles as well, currently running our country.
Yeah, there's a
stuff
feeling that this is just the thin end of a really rancid wedge, right?
Yeah. I mean, just remember, Boris Johnson got, attacked for having gold wallpaper. There wasn't gold wallpaper. Then he got ousted because, well, first of all, there was that sort of eating cake from a petrol station at a certain hour of day, don't care.
Yeah.
And then because he had apparently not gone after Chris Pincher for, I don't know, touching a thigh or something.
Yeah.
This is 1,000 times worse.
This is much. I mean, I have no objection to getting rid of Boris Johnson. He was a disaster, but he didn't deserve to have to leave the Premiership.
This is 1,000 times worse.
This is terrible. And what about for Starmer, though? Because, as I say, Tony Blair, terrible error of judgment ever to appoint this low-life, lying scumbag to a senior position in the government. Same for Gordon Brown. All these scandals. But to do it for a third time, to appoint him as ambassador to America.
I love the fact that even in his own party, his nickname was the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that didn't come out of nowhere, did it?
The Prince of
Here comes old
Darkness.
angelic man